And that was Treasures of Disease by Septic Tank. And you're listening to Radio Graffiti on Newgrounds Radio. I'm your host, Radio Gents, and tonight we have a very special guest. And a co-host too, to boot. Special show tonight. Tonight joining me as a co-host is Jeff Nest from Jeff Nest.com on Newgrounds. And today we are interviewing ERIC LIDE. Welcome to the show, Eric.
Hey, how's it going?
And Jeff, introduce yourself too if you need to.
How's it going, Newgrounds? My name is Jeff. I'll be co-hosting for this wonderful show tonight.
Yeah, I'm glad to actually have both of you on because both of you are two comics people that I admire myself, and I look up to both of you guys, both for advice and also just narrative content and comics. For everyone that's listening in right now, ERIC LIDE is a comic artist. He has been working on comics for how long now? Over 10, 15 years?
Oh, gosh, yeah. I haven't really thought about it like that. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, maybe probably closer. I've been drawing since I was about 4. So, but in terms of professional capacity, yeah, I would say about.
And that was 47 years ago.
Yeah, that was 47 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of professional capacity, it's probably been about 15, 20 years or so.
Yeah, and currently Eric runs a webcomic right now called Ozzy the Vampire, which is one of my favorite webcomics. I mean, it is currently my favorite ongoing webcomic and web series that I check up on and read.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
And everybody listening in right now, ERIC LIDE has a Patreon too. I'm going to be putting it up on screen for the YouTube re-release. But if you go on Twitter and you search ERIC LIDE, ERIC space LIDE, you will come across Eric's page. And you can give him a follow there, and you can check out his Patreon right there. And on screen right now is his comic, Ozzy the Vampire, the latest page that you have out right now, where the vampires are discussing the plan of action that's come to pass.
Yeah, lots of backstory stuff right now. Hoping to get back to the present. Well, actually, it's still the present, but yeah, hoping to get back to the main characters on the next page or so. It's been a bit of things have been a bit chaotic in my life recently, so it's I try to update when I can. So hopefully, I wanted to crank out an update today. I just didn't have time.
I mean, that's kind of the nature of webcomics, where, life happens and you got to take a break however long you need to.
I mean, it's always chaotic in the chaos state, so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm currently working on my first published graphic novel, so that has to take priority in terms of deadlines and stuff like that. So it's just how it has to be right now. But
they
I
want
still
it yesterday, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I try to squeeze in Aussie updates when I can. I just ask the fans to be patient for now.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm more than willing to wait. It's been a good ride this whole time through, and it only gets better every time. I catch an update or a series of updates that you do.
Thanks. Usually when I take a long break, I try to make up for an update daily or something, just to try to keep everything flowing.
That's what I did in October for my own webcomic, where I was uploading literally every single day that month. Because
it's a great feeling.
Oh no, I had a lot of fun. I wish I could do that all the time. The thing is, currently right now it's not the most wise financial decision to just devote nothing but webcomic time.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, comics are time consuming to make, so that's just the nature of it.
Yeah,
you're just gonna end up having to choose between which paid work or this. I mean, well, ideally you get paid for both, but
yeah. And also, I gave your introduction, but now it's time to give Jeff's introduction. Jeff is another comic artist, physical media. He makes Dragon Fister, and I'm going to be putting it up on the screen right now. For anybody listening, you can go on Newgrounds and search Jeff Nestcom, no space, JEFFNESTCOM on Newgrounds, and you can find his comic there, Dragon Fister, on his latest news page. You can start from there, and he has graciously given us the ability to navigate forward and backwards within the comic on Newgrounds itself via hyperlinks.
Nice.
Oh, Newgrounds just feels super familiar because it does take me back to like you do things like that on Tumblr. The only thing I wish is that it wouldn't open in a new tab. And if you know how to stop that from happening again, just send me a message and we can try to figure that out because I'd like to keep it on the same tab.
I think there's a way to hyperlink it where it just reloads the chat tab or changes it within the tab. I'll figure something out like that. I might ask Tom Fulp actually about it. Also, speaking of, I need to give shout outs to Tom Fulp because he has, for people that are watching this on YouTube, I'm on Newgrounds right now, and the banner on Newgrounds is my art currently. And Tom Fulp has been super, super, super helpful and let me advertise my Kickstarter and my comic on Newgrounds and let me do art for the site. And he's just been super kind. In a time where Twitter was just like, giving me the shit end of the stick, my account getting locked out by hackers, Tom helped me out and, kept my Kickstarter momentum going. Also, just to give like a quick shill over my Kickstarter.
Got 2 days left? One day left?
I have 38 hours to go is what it says right here. And I just broke 18K right now, just as soon as I said that.
Nice. Congrats, man.
I saw the ticker go up right then and there. But
listen, your goal was 5,000. You're approaching fourfold. So
that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. But, if people keep contributing, if people pull their funny, just remember that is a fantastic goal to set.
I just reread.
Yeah, what up?
I just reread the whole comic this week too.
Oh, dope! Yeah. Oh, what? You read my comic? Okay, that actually that makes me blush just a little bit right now, actually. Cause
no, it's great. I can't wait for the book. I really liked it.
Thank you so much. I mean, it's only getting better, like my comic, because working on webcomics, you start at one point in your life and then you start improving as an artist and both a writer as it goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the fun thing about them, though. When I first started my first comics and stuff, I was drawing with like a ballpoint pen, like just on like loose leaf paper.
Oh, back when this is before you released Station Square, I assume.
No, Station Square, the first pages of it.
Wait. Yeah. Oh, it's been a minute. Okay. Because
I think like the first 100 pages or so of that were just drawn on like ballpoint pen on a just like computer paper, just anything I could get my hands on, and I would just scan it.
Yeah. Right now, I'm going through Station Square right now, a fantasy epic comic by ERIC Lide. It starts off with what, Warring Kingdoms, or
Yeah, a huge exposition dump. That's probably not something I would do now, but yeah, I still have a lot of love for Station Square. I want to continue it soon. I just haven't had the time. But it was the first comic, the first web comic I ever made. I never really set out to be like a web comic artist. I just kind of was posting it on LiveJournal back in the day.
Hey, the classics.
Yeah, it just kind of kept going. And I just but in the old days I would just kind of just draw it on ballpoint pen and just on scrap paper, and I just kind of I think they say like you improve on the page, kind of you just keep drawing pages and kind of figure comics out on the fly.
Yeah, I'm just going
ideally.
through. Yeah,
ideally, yeah.
I'm going through the pages right now, and it's just it's such really fun energy. You still have a lot of that fun energy that you do with your comics right now. But
I still really like it. I'd like to go back and I mean, like I've been wanting to continue it and also like kind of remake the website and everything because it's like on some old WordPress stuff. but like I said before, I'm so busy with this book I'm currently working on, so that just has to take priority right now.
Yeah. If you don't mind, I mean, how did you get into webcomics? This has been a question I've been meaning to ask, and I wanted to save it for the show.
Gosh, well, like I said, I kind of just got thrown into the deep end. It was like when I graduated, I went to School of Visual Arts.
Same
I
here. I
studied
think
cartooning.
everyone here has been on the School of Visual Arts. I went for animation, but both Jeff and Eric went for cartooning, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
looking if I could do it again, I probably would have done animation. But yeah, I studied cartooning there. When I graduated, I just kind of like had no idea what to do with myself. So I so I started at that time. This is like 14,000 years ago. So I was on LiveJournal, and I would just kind of post comics, and I had a group of friends at the time that were all kind of just posting stuff, and I think I would just I don't know, just kind of formed a small community and of comic artists that were just trying to make stuff, and around that time, I guess it just eventually I was like, I guess I should get a website going. So I made a site and just kind of started posting it there. Then when Ozzy the Vampire started, that was originally not even meant to be a web comic. That was like just a series of mini comics I was doing at conventions and stuff. And it just started kind of catching on a little bit. So uh so I started drawing that a bit more frequently, and that kind of got turned into a web comic too, because I didn't know any other way to deliver comics online. But I was never 100% satisfied with the web comics format, because I guess like my background comes more from like reading like manga online and stuff like that.
Got you, got you, got
So
you.
yeah, so when whereas web comics, you're kind of stuck with like doing one page and then one page. If I had my way, I would probably be, you know, doing like chapter updates and stuff like that. But it's just not realistic. I tried it all kinds of different ways, but I ended up kind of just being like, okay, I guess it's a webcomic. So, yeah, I never really felt like it was correct for myself to refer to myself as a webcomic artist, because I was like, I kind of just like fell into it.
Yeah, it just got thrust onto you. All right.
But
Alongside with Ozzy. Got you.
yeah, it just kind of was all a happy accident. So
Well, I'm glad. I mean, again, with no hyperbole, like Ozzy the Vampire is my current favorite ongoing webcomic.
well, thank
And
you.
yeah,
Anytime anyone tells me they read it, I'm just like, oh, I'm so flattered, because like again, it's just so hard for me to conceive of the idea of anybody actually wanting to read something I made.
I
I was reading the first chapter today. I finished that today, and it really is a delightful comic, and I'm really happy. I am legendarily bad at actually sitting down and reading things.
Yeah, same.
Right, right after SPX, I had a huge stack of indie comics, and then I got really, really sick. That put me out of commission for about a month, only just read Monster Country like right before the show.
I know, I'm the same way. I have a whole pile of SBX comics I got, and
E-
I haven't even had a chance to read them yet.
Everyone, against my girlfriend, my colorist, are constantly yelling at me to catch up on Berserk because I tell people,
wait. You're
uh,
still not okay. Well, okay. I I'm not gonna say anything because I know you're also watching Trigun too.
watching Trigun right now with my girlfriend. I'm also
Is that the new
watching
one
No,
or
no, the
the?
old one.
the old
Oh,
one,
okay, that's a
and
classic right there.
Yeah,
oh, it's really good.
I
It's
love.
really good.
Yeah,
It is
yeah,
hands down my favorite story of all time. So
nice.
That has to go to
Yeah.
Fist of the North Star for me.
Oh man, I
Fist
don't know if I have a favorite story. That's a. Hmm.
it doesn't have to be like your number one thing, but like what's something that really motivates you is what I would ask you, rather than
Oh,
like it's your favorite, but like something that like got you to like making stuff or stories.
oh, well, that's got to be Dragon Ball. It's a bit of a cliche, but that was
Hey,
always the that was the original for me. That was
no,
the
Dragon Ball's a fun time. I still love
Well,
rereading the OG.
just like Ava, it's just something. Sometimes things really are worth the hype, and they are really good.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's probably the series I've reread the most. Whatever I like right before I started the book I'm working on right now, I reread all of Dragon Ball just to like get that in my brain again. But like yeah, that's one of the things I can always just pick up and have a good time with. Um, yeah, I would say probably for me, like the first thing I really got into actually was Peanuts when I was really young. I was super into Charles Schultz art.
Another classic, yeah.
Yeah, that was the first thing where I remember I was very young, but that was the first time where I put something to like an artist's name, like oh, a person made this, like this guy made this. And so I remember I would go to the library and I would like actually check out like Charles Schultz's like biography or whatever, and like I just wanted to do what he was doing. I wanted to figure out how to do that. So I remember like I still have very early memories of like kind of flipping through all his old stuff and just kind of trying to piece it together.
Yeah, Schultz has such a unique. I think they go over to SBA too. I think they still teach a lot of Schultz over there in the cartooning
Still a
department.
lot of little things about the way that he draws that I feel like I still kind of do in my own stuff, like unconsciously, just because I've been copying his stuff and I was really young. So so it's like still in there. Same thing of like Toriyama, which I mean like obviously the Toriyama influence I think is pretty upfront in my work, but like there's like certain things like the way like he draws muscles that I still draw kind of like that too.
Yeah, no,
You really draw the triangle feet.
Yeah, the triangle feet
like
sometimes.
Toriyama.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah. So
it's always tons of fun stuff. But
I have a
yeah,
question.
yeah, go ahead.
Very broad and open ended, but I do like to ask this to people. People I get more familiar with. I want to ask it to a stranger. That'd be kind of weird. Just as just a medium and as just entertainment and what you do, just for you, why comics? What
um, why go with comics over anything else, or
why comics specifically, not specific to web comic, just because at the end of the day, it's a comic book. It is a speech
um,
bubble. It is a panel. It is what you do. It's what I do. But why for you
I
do
think it
you
was just like uh, I think it was just like it was the thing that was in reach because there's like a low barrier to entry kind of. When I was very young, I got into comics through the newspaper comics, and
hmm
Hmm.
which I guess like the younger listeners probably don't even know what that is now, right?
Well, I mean, everyone knows Garfield. Everyone knows Peanuts.
Yeah, back in my day, we had the stone tablets delivered to our. No, I'm joking. Yeah, I would just get really excited about the newspaper comics, and I don't know, I just really like cartoons as a kid, just anything like that. But comics was the easiest thing to reach because you know I wanted to tell stories. I knew that, and I wanted like I think like when I see something I like or I listen to an album I like or I anything, my kind of default reaction is like how can I do something like this too? Uh, not to like try to like not to try to like supersede it or anything like that, but like I don't know, like I always think like well like how can I replicate this or well if I could do it like how would I do it? And
I think that's a fantastic way to go about it because the best artists of anything will take influence from things outside of their primary field of focus.
yeah, and I think
You
with
will see
comics,
people who will only draw like only have ever read comics, draw comics, and you'll feel the flatness of it. You know,
yeah, it's definitely good to bring in a lot of influences. But I think with comics it was just because like you don't need anything to do it. Like if you want to play music, there's like a pretty high barrier to entry. If you want to make a movie, if you want
Yeah.
to animate, there's a lot of like things you have to go through before you can do that. But if
we
you want to
were
draw a comic book, you can just do it.
yeah we were talking about it in the pre-show, but it's the accessibility, which is the double-edged sword of comics in general. But it's the fact
Yeah,
that uh, for my comic, I found a fucking idiot willing to draw it for free, and it's me looking in the mirror. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's. I feel that.
yeah. It's just like I think that was I mean like also once I discovered like indie comics and like creator owned stuff, that was a big appeal to me too because
Independence is the way to go, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when I first got into comics, I was reading superhero stuff really early on. Also, um, I went from like newspaper to superhero stuff, and like Sonic the Hedgehog on Archie and stuff like that. And like
All right.
I remember, I remember like I liked that stuff, but at that time, I think I only thought the only future you could have in comics would be that the best you could hope for is you go to these companies and you're the one drawing Spider-Man or whatever. I didn't know that you could like make your own stuff and like that became really appealing to me. So when I first discovered indie comics and like create your own stuff like Bone and like manga, I remember seeing like Dragon Ball volumes when I was a kid, and the fact that it just said like by Akira Toriyama on the cover was like super appealing to me because it's like this is one guy's vision. Obviously, that's not quite the case. There's multiple people who are working on that book too, but to my the way I saw it as a kid, I thought it was like just one guy making this.
It
So
honestly blew my mind too when getting very early on in the drawing. It's like, oh, there's more than just Marvel and DC. What's this?
yeah,
Yeah.
it kind of
Image,
expanded my world. Yeah, exactly.
Dark Horse, Oni. What's going on here?
Yeah,
Yeah,
once you start learning about publishers, I remember okay, so I first moved to America when I was around 7 years old. That's when I started going to like, the States. In Albania all we had were like we didn't even have comics. We had like picture books that had Spider-Man, so I already had like, the idea of Spider-Man in my head, and then I went inside like, comic book stores in the States, and that blew my mind. All the variety and everything that I saw, like in NYC. There was this one comic shop in Jamaica that I went to. Rest in peace, comic shops. They've been dying out, by the way. But there was this one
yeah.
comic shop that I went to. I saw Archie Sonic there, and I was obsessed with Sonic as a kid. I saw Spider-Man there. I just started picking up comics there and reading right there.
Yeah, the
And
first time I went to a comic shop when I was a kid, it was just like blew my mind.
it's such a formative experience, and I think that's when like, the poison of comics started entering my brains, and it kind of led me down this path right now.
Yeah, it really is like a curse a little bit.
Right?
You have to really love it to want to do this
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
it's draining, it's stressful, but
yeah. I mean, like it just kind of there wasn't really anything else for me. I remember like I don't know. I just something about it just really stuck out to me, and it really took off for me once I discovered like manga and like more indie stuff because that again like that was like it was like a way forward. Like I saw like that there was a way for me to do things without necessarily having to like the idea that you can make your own world and your own stuff and like people would could potentially want to read it was just very exciting.
for me the
So
craziest thing was having to accept that I think I'm sure it happens in other fields of visual storytelling, but it feels as if with the comps in particular, it really is a medium where you actually absolutely have to learn how to draw literally everything.
Yep.
yeah,
You can't do you like I don't want to draw a horse because you will draw a horse in your comic book career. Oh, I don't
yeah,
want to draw a suit. You will draw a guy in a suit in your comic book career. Absolutely. Oh, I don't like drawing
yeah.
cars. Too bad. You will draw a car at one point in your comic book career.
Yep. No, that's it. Like that was me with just motorcycles recently because I never really drew like mechanical designs like that. And then lately I have a character that, is very Kamen Rider inspired. So he has to drive a motorcycle is what I have in mind. And I was like, okay. Then I had to
But
start learning about motorcycles and designing motorcycles from scratch because I didn't want to like, copy a motorcycle design, and then it was just driving me insane. I spent the whole day just drawing that motorcycle and then getting the whole rest of the page done.
Well, right
it's
there in the
it's
general
it's
chat,
exciting though.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love learning new things, and now I'm learning shorthand for motorcycles that doesn't look like absolute cartoony motorcycles, but like someone who knows how to draw motorcycles is drawing
just
shorthand
copy
motorcycles.
Shia LaBeouf. It's right there in the general chat.
And you know what though? That's funny that you say that because like I said, I read your comic again this week, and the page, uh, uh, I believe his name is it Giorgio? I don't want to say it
Yeah,
wrong.
Giorgio is his name, or
Giorgio.
Gio. You can call him Gio.
Okay, Gio. when he's standing in front of the motorcycle. I do remember looking at that bike and being like, damn, that's a good motorcycle drawing.
Thank you. Let me see if I can like go back and like check it out just real fast for people that are like watching the video. Yeah, it's this took me, I Frankenstein like 5 to 6 different motorcycles together to get this look right here, because none of
Yeah, it
them
came
looked
out
exactly
great.
how I wanted it to look like, and then now I have this thing and I have to like draw it on many different angles in the future coming soon.
And yeah, I've definitely found it like there is a lot of like that kind of pulling teeth feeling where you have to draw something you wouldn't normally draw. It's especially funny when you write the thing yourself because you're like, why did I do this to myself?
Me and the field of sunflowers, the glowing field of sunflowers in my comic, and I was like, it's
Okay.
Yeah,
it's cool to write out, right? And like, envision in your head, but then you have to start drawing this thing, and then you have to go through the minutia of every single individual sunflower. And then I think about people like Kentaro Miura and how he drew like blades of grass on a field, and I'm like,
mm,
this guy's insane.
yeah. I drew a scene in my book currently where they're fighting an army of a character who replicates themselves into like a giant army,
Oh, that's
and
sick.
yeah, and like I did a 2-page spread where I just had to draw like 1,000 of them, and I was just kind of like, why did I do this? I wrote it, I wrote this into the script, so it has to happen. Uh,
Yeah.
but it's just funny because it's, I mean, I knew future Eric was going to be sad when he got to it, but it makes for a better. Sometimes you just have to draw what the scene needs, like it's got to be this,
Yeah.
and
Didn't even give it much thought until just now, but I did take perspective back in school, and I went out of my way to learn how to draw buildings and all these
mm.
things and whatnot. And my primary comic ends up being set in the medieval fantasy setting.
Yeah, well,
And like,
my book is in a medieval fantasy world, right? The one I'm drawing right now, and it's a so I've been doing a lot of backgrounds and stuff based off of that kind of world, and it's been fun because I've never really drew that stuff before. But I was always obsessed with RPGs and stuff growing up, so I wanted to do something like that, and getting to draw that kind of medieval fantasy stuff is really fun. I'm really enjoying it.
I love fantasy. I love fantasy so goddamn much.
I love
Yeah,
that.
I'm really excited to when I could actually show the stuff I'm working on right now. But I'm really happy with it. I'm really excited.
Can you at least reveal the title for people
Well,
that
we don't.
would want to buy it in the future, or everything's like super NDA, can't get into it?
No, it's something like that. The working title right now is the Champion of Drayland.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if it's going to be the final title because publishing is a bit different than like working like on my own stuff. So like there's different like I still haven't found a title that I want, and I'm gonna have to go through a process where I'm gonna have to go through like my publisher and my editor and everything like that. Yeah, I always feel a bit silly because I'm like, yeah, I'm working on this book, and then it's like, oh, what's it called? I'm like, I don't know. Uh, but yeah, it's supposed to come out next year. Um, I'm working very hard on it. I'm really excited about it. I think anyone who's read my stuff, I think they know what to expect, kind of in some ways from this. Uh, but I tried to bring that kind of like over the top fight scenes and stuff to like a medieval fantasy setting, and I'm really pleased with it. I usually don't really like the things I make, so um, or rather, it's I see things a bit differently than I think if anybody who's gonna read it. Uh,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
whenever you're making
you could.
something, for me it's like this. I always have fun making the things I'm making, but then when I revisit them, I'm like, oh, I could have done this differently now that I have this like
Yeah,
experience.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for this, I'm liking it. I'm enjoying it. I'm hoping that translates to a lot of people enjoying it. Hopefully, or maybe it's awful and I just can't. I don't know. But no,
Here's
but yeah, I'm enjoying it and I'm really excited. I can't wait to share it with people. It's kind of drawing graphic novels is kind of maddening because you're like on an island all by yourself, and because you can't really show anybody what you're doing yet, So it's like this thing where I have hundreds and hundreds of pages of this thing that I've been drawing, and I can't really talk about it yet. So it's like driving me crazy.
No, it's all good. I have questions to ask about that, but Jeff was gonna say something right now. What do you want to ask, Jeff?
Oh, it was just from a point from a little earlier. Just like, oh, I don't usually enjoy the things that I make, is something Eric said, and then, but I'm proud of this. And honestly, I've really have adopted the mindset recently of you just have to trust that your audience has good taste, that if they, if they like your work, you're doing something right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
like everybody I've showed, my editors and stuff, like everyone has read through the script and everything. They've all it's all been really nice feedback. So I'm I'm quite confident in it, in as much as somebody like me could be. Uh, and like I said, I'm having fun making it too. Not that I don't have fun making my other stuff. Obviously, I wouldn't do it if I didn't have fun. But I'm just hoping it's a good sign that I'm a bit nervous because it's my first like on shelves book. You know, so I just
I
want it
wouldn't
to be really good, and I'm
I'm
trying to
s-
put everything I can into it.
I'm super
I would have
excited
put
about
my
that.
colorist through the ringer of madness if I didn't love what I was doing.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm just trying to put all my energy into it, and just try to make something that I don't know, leave my mark, a little bit, or make my mark, or not leave. It's not the last book.
Yeah, speaking of that, that's something that I feel for myself. Like, why I want to get into comics, because originally I started doing animation. I had a crazy journey in life, but like just to truncate my creative experience, I started out writing plays, and then I started going to school for animation, and then I really liked animation because ultimately what I want to do is I want to tell stories. So I went from playwriting to animation because I felt like animation was the best medium to tell stories. And then like I started shifting my opinions a little bit because animation takes a long time to get anything done in a team of people that you need to coordinate with. And then it's kind of limiting because like unless you have all those resources, there are only so many stories you can tell within animation in your lifetime, you know?
Yeah,
But comics is where I started to revisit like, my childhood, all these like manga that I've read growing up, or comics and independent things, and I started to think like, you know what? Let me try shifting like my own personal projects, instead of being animation focused, to make them comic focused, just because I can tell way more of my stories on a
yeah,
shorter time frame. And also I really wanted to get prints out and like get stuff physically put in the world, so I can like, like you said, leave something behind. And that's where the romance for comics came in for me.
yeah. I
Why?
definitely want to like. I mean, like I've done Aussie books before, but like uh now that Aussie's with a publisher, I definitely want to do like a Kickstarter, a new book for Ozzy too. That's like way fancier and like more of a professional production for
Oh,
it.
nice, nice, nice.
So that's definitely something I do want to get. Even Station Square also down the line if possible. But like yeah, I've always wanted to have books of everything I make available, just because I prefer. I mean, I'm a bit old fashioned, I guess, but I prefer having a book, and it just makes it feel like it's kind of like complete, like but yeah, that was always more of the goal. Like I said before, I kind of just stumbled into the webcomics world rather than set out to do it. But yeah, that's one of the things I'd like to definitely have on the docket, though, is to do a new version of the Aussie books, and future books as well.
Eric, let me ask you something.
Sure.
We both tabled at the SPX last year. Were you approached by a woman representing the Library of Congress about a donation for your work?
Oh man, I don't think so. I don't remember though. Honestly, I was really out of it that whole weekend. So
Oh, me too. Absolutely, me too. But I can very hilariously and proudly say that there is now in the U.S. Archive of Archives physical proof that'll go down in history that a comic called Dragon Fister up to the Forearm Edition #1 is a thing that existed in human history.
Oh, that's kind of
And
awesome, actually.
But yeah, that's what
I
it's all about. You know, just
and
leaving something
I'm
behind.
just like, you know what? Someone's gonna read this, an alien's gonna pick this up, and is like, this race deserve to be wiped out because this is what they're making and they're reading, and I'm completely okay with that.
Speaking of,
Yeah.
Dragon Fister is tons of fun. For anybody watching right now on YouTube, I have it on screen. Dragon Fister by Jeff Ness, colored by Jared Rosen, up to the forearm edition, which he's uploading
I'll have
on
to,
Newgrounds.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, no, it's a fun time. I really enjoyed, especially like seeing Jeff's work in progress, uh, points for the book whenever he's like getting ready for a con, and it's always a lot of fun just going through his inks and like the stories and narrative. But
Yeah, I think I'm supposed to be doing a TCAF this year, so it's gonna be con season again. So I'm gonna try to
Wait,
crank out a new comic.
the one in Toronto?
Yeah, that's my favorite
Oh,
one to do.
wow.
yeah, can
Yeah,
you
I love.
explain TCAF for everybody?
Oh yeah, so TCAF is the Toronto Comics Arts Festival, I believe it stands for. It's in the Toronto Library. I think it's the Reference Library. I forget what it's called. I'm trying to pull the website up right now. um, it's in the end of April. It's my favorite con to go to because it's free to. I believe it's free to go to it to if you're coming in off the street. And since it's in the middle of Toronto, you get like all these people coming in, and it really feels like people are specifically there to read comics. It's the best I've ever done at a convention. I did it in 2019, right before the world ended, and
Oh,
it was great. It was just like thousands of people, and they were all there to read comics. And I sold so much stuff. I made way more money than I've ever made in my any convention. And I remember at that time it just felt so validating. So I'm hoping it happens again. I don't know. I don't know
and
what
then
what
you
the
converted the Canadian dollars to US, and you were sad now.
no, it was better actually.
Okay.
It was the other way around actually. But yeah, well, because you adjust your prices when you're there
Yeah,
for
Yeah,
it. But uh, yeah, it was just a great show, and I don't know what the climate is like, now after post, lockdowns and everything with how many people are going to shows now and stuff like that. So I think SBX still felt pretty much the same though, uh, from what I remember. But so yeah, I'm hoping TCAF goes well again. But it's my favorite show. If you ever get the chance to do it, I highly recommend it.
I've been recommended TCAF before, and the only thing that puts me off really is just the travel. But
Yeah,
had
it's a bit of a
what is it,
it's a bit of
11-hour
a
drive?
well, my friends and I always make a road trip out of it, so it takes us even longer. But we kind of like usually we what we do is we kind of just take the whole day and just drive and stop at a lot of places and just have a good time on the way up there.
All my friends are New
Um,
Yorkers. None of them drive.
well, there's me, but like I don't have my own car,
yeah,
so I can't even say.
yeah. Like I said, it's just something that like if you get the chance to, I definitely recommend it. I love it. And yeah, I've met a lot of friends online there and stuff like that. Like it's just it's just. Well, I think what makes it really great though is that since it's right in the middle of a city and it's free to attend, like you get a lot of kids and stuff, and like um we just are excited to see comics, to read comics, and you can just feel the love kind of, and
The
yeah,
energy that is
yeah,
at
it's
a convention is probably some of my favorite. The most fun I have at any convention is probably either Anime Next in New Jersey and SPX, hands down, is probably my favorite experience. Even the first few years where things didn't go so well, it's being surrounded by people that are just out there making shit. That
yeah.
is
The first few
so
years at a
inspiring.
Yeah, the first few years doing a convention is like yeah, you really got to put the time in. It's like the first few years is always is rough, or was rough for me anyway. I don't know. But yeah, if you keep doing it, it gets easier and it gets better, and you learn. And I have a lot of I don't think I realized how much I was feeding off of that energy until lockdowns happened. and then it was making comics was a very lonely experience.
It's been tough for everyone, man, and in different
Yeah,
levels and different ways. And
Yeah.
the
Every
fact that
field, yeah.
concerts started coming back, I immediately started going back. Cons started coming back. The minute SPX said we're coming back, the day the lottery opened, me and my colorist both applied, and we both got in actually. So I was able to have two other friends tag along so they can table as well.
Oh, that's dope.
nice. Yeah,
I know I definitely want to start tabling more at cons now that I actually have like materials for a book.
Oh yeah, I think you do super well. My
yeah,
girlfriend's actually trying to start her comic going as well, and she's looking to get that set up for this SPX as well. Because even though it is a lottery, the more people that apply, the more people you can kind of like daisy chain to yourself.
yeah.
Got you, got you.
It's a numbers game. You just gotta.
There's really no shame in that. It's like I got a friend, they got
No,
in, I'm gonna tag along with them. Two people got in, now four of us are tabling. You know?
Yeah, okay.
I mean, that's how we always did it. We would just all put in, and then if any of us got a table, then we would all share it. I don't know if that's. I mean, I don't. They've never said anything about it, but that's how we always did
Oh,
it.
the
I
second
mean,
year I split one table with four people. So
honestly, like I've said this before we started the show, but like, uh, I I I think we all failed the lottery. Like, I think it was like 6 years in a row we weren't able to do it. So yeah, it really is a numbers game. You just got to give yourself as much chance as possible.
Just to explain for people that are listening that wouldn't know, like define a lottery system for
Oh yeah,
tabling at a
sorry.
con. No issue.
Yeah, so for when you're applying to certain conventions, I don't know if Mocha does this, which is a New York indie con, but for the Small Press Expo, you have to when you apply because there's so many people now, um, they they make it so that you're randomly selected if you actually get the table or not. It was not like this when I first started. Back when I started, it was a much smaller show, so you could just apply and get in. But nowadays, it's gotten way bigger and way more popular, and and there's only so much room. So what they do is they let some tables go to people who are like bigger names, and then the rest of them you kind of have to roll the dice for it. So usually, what my friends and I will do, because we tend to split the table anyway, we all apply, and whoever gets it, if any of us get it, we get to do it. That has not worked for me though. Anyway, like like I said, it didn't. There was a long period of time where I wasn't able to actually do SBX, and that's why, just because of the lottery. But I did get to do 2018, and I think 2022.
2022 was great. I had a lot of
Yeah,
fun. The energy was right back to how it used to be, and I think people are very happy to be there.
yeah. It just like I said, I really underestimated how much I was feeding off of that energy once it was gone, because I think it was like what 2 years of nothing, no cons or anything,
Oh,
Yeah.
it's
yeah,
it's
it was,
I've said this. I've said this to a bunch of people before. It's just I'm not a very social person. I don't think anybody who works in comics really are. A bunch of weirdos. But when you are with kin, when you are with people there for the same reason you are, be it a concert
yeah,
or a convention, it's different. I'm happy to be there.
yeah, it's great, and like yeah, it's one of those things that like that's what I miss the most after graduating from art school, is just being around people who have the similar energy that want to make the stuff that you want to do, and it could be a very collaborative process even if you're not working on the same thing together, but like just being surrounded by people who are all talking about the same thing, or excited about the same stuff, or excited about their own things too. Uh, but that energy is like really infectious, and it gets you to make stuff too, because you're like a little bit of rivalry, a little bit of wanting to impress your friends and stuff, and wanting to maybe not rivalry, but like just I remember like just always trying to make my friends laugh with my comics or whatever, and trying to come up with better jokes, and it just you start growing really fast,
Oh, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I need to lay off my colorist though because I'm about to lose it because I keep torturing him every year, but he does such a fantastic job. This last SPX actually had my girlfriend hop in to do style matching and coloring to help us get the book to print on time, and she also did a fantastic job.
I
Yeah,
You
remember
there's
can't
always
you
tell
that
which
like
pages were her and which ones were Jared. She just did such a fantastic job matching.
Nice.
Yeah, there's always that like that crunch time when a con's about to come in.
I
I have a one-shot comic I want to try to get out before TCAP. So right after I turn in my pencils for my book, I'm gonna try to bum rush that and try to get that out as fast as possible.
I remember the crunch that I did for my webcomic for Boxcar City was I wanted to finish chapter 2 on Halloween for the 4-year
Mm.
anniversary of the comic, because I started the comic on Halloween. I wanted the 4-year anniversary to be Halloween, and the plot and the story has been like one eternal like 4-year long Halloween day. I've
Nice.
learned my lesson in comics now is just like, do not set a date for what's happening in the story, and try to not do anything like that ever again, because like, the eternal Halloween is cool. It's a nice idea, but then like, it goes on for 4 years, and it's just like everyone's like, oh, we're still on this right now.
Oh yeah, I mean that's like yeah, that's just like comics time. Like Ozzy also has the same comics birthday, by the way.
Yeah.
Like I if Ozzy, like, the plot concerns Hollow the upcoming 31st of October in that in their year, but I tried to avoid mentioning what year it was.
Yeah, that's the same here,
Yeah, and like looking back, I kind of wish, like, I don't know, I kind of operate on like Simpsons logic with it, where I just throw in whatever I want when I'm drawing it. But part of me kind of wishes that I did, if I did the comic now, I think I would have settled on a date, on a year, because like in my mind when I was drawing it, there's a lot of elements in it that I took from when I was in art school. So a lot of the stuff that, the characters, like a lot of their little quirks and stuff, like, are from my time in college and everything. But when I was first starting the comic, I didn't, and for whatever reason, I didn't think that that time had a feeling to it. So I was like, if I said it in like 2006 or whatever, it's not gonna really like feel or look like anything. But now, that we're in 2023,
Yeah.
I
Yep.
now I look back at that time with a lot of nostalgia and stuff. So it's almost like I do kind of wish I really committed to it being a certain time, because now it could kind of play like a nostalgia piece. But uh, but that's just, it just ended up the way it did. But
Now I've
it
only
is a
read
bit.
the first chapter of Ozzy, and honestly, just that first chapter honestly felt pretty timeless to me
Yeah.
Yeah, I
because
try to avoid like certain things, but the characters have technology that I certainly didn't have when I was in college, and like every once in a while, like, they'll have something like I think I drew like Austin with a Nintendo Switch in one panel and like stuff like that. So like every once in a while, like, they'll have stuff that like doesn't really make sense. But when
Anachronistic. Yeah.
yeah, like, but in the first, I think on the first page, if you look in the backgrounds, like there's like a Wii and a PS2 like in their apartment or whatever, and they're like playing on a tiny little TV because that's what I had in my dorm room. So yeah, if I did the comic now, I'd probably hard set it. I'd probably hard set it in New York City. I'd probably hard set it in SVA, or I might not be allowed to do that. But and I'd probably hard commit to the time. But at that, originally, I just didn't think that 2006 or 2008 or whatever. Just, I didn't think it had a feeling to it, which is crazy looking back now, because it absolutely does. But
Yeah. For my own comic, actually, I say 20XX, but it does take place in like this perpetual 2003 2004, and I set all the technology at that period because I kind of need it to be like that level of old technology. I don't want characters to have smartphones that can solve all their problems, because like I write a lot of my like actual mysteries coming up and everything based off of like the limited tech that people had back then. Because
Yeah, it's definitely like one of those things that yeah, it's interesting when you're building. Like, I didn't really think too much about the world building when I first was drawing Ozzy. I just kind of dove into it. So, uh, but yeah, like, it's definitely something to think about. Like, yeah, what if everybody has access to devices in their pockets that can give them all of the knowledge of the world? Um, you have to write around that,
yeah,
the situations around that and stuff. So,
or all that. What I wanted to ask actually is a topic that I wanted to get into is the difference between web comics, like self you make your own webcomic and working with a publisher and editor and your experiences with that, because I only ever made stuff independently all by myself and never really had like, ears to bounce off of like that on like the publishing
Oh,
side.
like how it differs?
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
It's been great. I really do love having an editor for my book. Yeah, it's the coolest thing about it is you just have an outside perspective.
Right,
Like,
right, right.
it's gonna be. But what's also cool about webcomics is you can be as self-indulgent as you want.
Yeah.
Like I think that's exciting in a different way. I like personally I like to read and or watch stuff or anything where it just feels like the person made it just went bonkers and had nobody around to tell them what to do. Obviously, if you're publishing a book, there's a part of that that's going to have to be sold as a product, so you need to kind of pull your pants up a little bit. uh and it's also interesting working with somebody who will offer an outside perspective of how you know the jokes land or something like that, because sometimes the way something is in your head, it can just seem 100% true, and then you put it down on paper and somebody reads it a completely different way and that you never would have even thought about it. So it is really interesting having that I like both ways, to be honest. I'm also working on another book that I don't think has been announced yet with a writer, and that's a whole other cool experience too, because I've never had somebody else write what I'm going to be drawing before. So I'm getting all kinds of new, ways of making comics. I'm getting like all kinds of flavors this year, which is fun. Like I have one book where I have Ozzy where I can do literally whatever I want, outside of like making it overtly porn. I think then I don't think Hiveworks would like that.
Yeah,
uh,
nah. Oh, who
and
knows?
I
Hiveworks has a bunch of different stuff on their like, site. So
yeah. And then I also have my own book coming out, and that's my story, but it's going through a more an editorial process. Then I have another book where I'm working with a writer on, so I get that experience of just being the artist and coming in and interpreting somebody else's words in my own way. So it's yeah, they all have different levels of like I don't know. They all keep things different. They all keep things interesting in their own way. Like I personally do like having an editor though, because it helps me discover things about myself as a writer too. Because like I think like I really think meanness is funny in comedy. Not like any targeted kind of meanness, but like characters that are just like obnoxious.
yeah,
Like
yeah, I got you.
like like Ozzy and Kimmy are like really. I think they're really pushed the limit of like I think what like I don't know, like I really like the idea of characters that are just like
Kind of
almost
assholes. Yeah,
assholes
yeah.
completely. And
There was a one-shot page when I was reading the first chapter where somebody was just walked up and started making fun of them, and Kimmy just opened her book and killed them.
Yeah, no,
And I just about lost it as I was reading that earlier.
oh, I think that was one of the guest comics, but yeah. Yeah, like I mean like Kimmy is like a character who like it's like a fun power fantasy actually, to just write a character that just is mean. And like so when I found when I was writing my current book, I have a character in that book that's really sassy, and I there was a lot of notes where I had to kind of tone down the meanness of her a little bit, just because like, but like I had to, like, when I was reading it from that perspective, and I'm like, oh yeah, you're supposed to like this person. You probably shouldn't. Your first introduction to this character probably shouldn't be them being a jerk. Uh, so that you have to think about it like that, and it
You
helps
don't
me.
want to do too good of a job of making an unlikable character because you end up with Alex from Yeek.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to have you don't want to have a character that's too like smarmy, and that's something I try to think about when I'm drawing Ozzy. Like uh I mean, people seem to like the characters, so I guess I'm doing okay. But it's something I worry about when I write. But I don't think about it too. But what's like I said before with webcomics, what's fun about it is that you can kind of do what you want, and if it doesn't work, you just change it. You just
Yes, yeah,
uh,
that's okay. That's my favorite thing about webcomics is you can course correct
yeah, you
cuz
can learn on the page.
sometimes when you're working on things in bulk, um you might have wrote out the script in one way, and then like you did the whole chunk in like a condensed period of time, but then like you revisit like what you wrote initially and you're like, oh, I kind of wish I did things a little bit differently before I committed too hard. But with
Yeah,
webcomics, you have that flexibility, and I really, really, really like that about webcomics.
yeah, and like that was like that's the cool thing about it is that if Ozzy and Kimmy aren't resonating with people to the point where it's like, okay, these characters are really annoying and I don't like this anymore, and then I can just be like, all right, well, like in this chapter, I'll give them something that makes them a bit more vulnerable, and like soften them up a little bit, and you can kind of like make those changes on the fly, and not that like I'm just doing whatever the audience wants me to do,
Yeah.
but you try to take that feedback and you think about how I can improve it and make it more accessible for people while
Yeah.
also being
Let
true to
me
yourself.
let me put you both on the spot for a second
Oh.
because I'm less involved in making web comics, and you guys don't have to answer this if you don't want to. Have you guys ever gone back and changed or replaced something as a necessity for a retcon?
Um,
Yes. I've fixed typos. I've also changed a few
Typos are fine. I
names.
do that for new prints.
I've changed a few names, and I changed a line of dialogue in the past to like not give too much away going
so
forward. But
for
yes, I have
Station Square,
retconned.
there was for Station Square, I went back and I touched up a lot of the art. A long time ago, I touched up a lot of the art because it looked even worse if you could believe it. Um, and then so there was a version of Satan Square before that was even rougher, and I went back and fixed that up. But I actually want to do that again whenever I get around to redoing the site. But I don't think I've done that with Ozzy too much. There's one page in Ozzy that has a joke that I want to change because I don't remember why I wrote it. And it doesn't make any sense. And a friend of mine linked me the page and she was reading it, and she was like, "Hey, I have a question. What is this joke trying to say?" And I read the joke, and I was like, "I have no recollection of writing this." Um, so I want to go back and change that. I just haven't thought of a new joke for it. But I think where I land on that kind of thing, because a lot of people are like, don't ever go back and change stuff. I've never really agreed with that, but I think where I've landed on it now is if I do go back and change something, I will probably always make it so that you can still see the original version, whether or not it's like collected in a PDF or something, just for preservation's sake. Because I do think it's important also for people to be able to see where you came from.
That's what I like. I mean, I like that in manga too, where you can see how a mangaka started writing a manga and then what they evolved into. JoJo's being the prime example.
Yeah, like I don't want to like go all George Lucas on my old stuff, but I also don't want to. I don't know, like if I find something doesn't really represent me at all or what I was trying to get at, I don't mind changing it just for
Yeah,
that reason.
I
And
I I agree there.
yeah, like yeah, but other than that, I can't remember if I've ever gone to. I haven't really taken the Mincer to Ozzy like that. Maybe when I do like the new version of the book, I'll probably touch some stuff up and tighten up a few things because then it gives you an incentive to read it again too. Uh, but yeah, I don't think I've done it on the webcomic version of it so far.
I think the closest that I've done is when I first printed my comic. I had to cut out about 6 pages to make the deadline, and then when I tabled the next year, the one you see on Newgrounds right now, up to the forearm edition, has those missing 6 pages. So that to me is the
Oh,
closest to
okay.
that. But I was
Well,
able to tell the same story with those 6 pages missing. I was able to somehow get away with that.
yeah, there was a actually that's an interesting point because there was a in the first version of the first chapter of Ozzy, there was more in that chapter, but I had to cut it to make a deadline for a convention at the time, and then those pages ended up getting kind of lost. So I was actually thinking of restoring those for the book too, the new version of the book. So that might be something I do too.
I think that's good incentive for people to purchase something they may already own or have already read too.
Yeah, like a director's cut kind of version of it,
There you
because
go.
I do still have that material. So
For me, whenever I do changes for my comic, it's usually within the week that I make the page, you know? Because sometimes,
yeah,
like, when you're on a deadline of, like, I need to make a page, like, let's say when I was working in October, a page a day, sometimes I had to make concessions just to get the page done for the day, but then I would revisit it like either the day after or like within the week to be like I need to adjust to make it look like how I want it to look like. But I don't want to go back to the very beginning of the comic and change stuff that I've done, or I don't think I'll ever be in that position where I'll be doing stuff like that, because I kind of like it as its own time capsule too. And the way how I write my comic is I write it in arcs, like 2 chapters, self-contained stories, and I feel like it's good enough, and I don't want to like waste too much, well, not waste too much time, but I don't want to invest too much in spending my own time revisiting these old pages to touch them up or like to change the story. I'd rather just
yeah,
take what I've done and adjust my narrative going forward.
yeah.
Sometimes
I
moving
mean,
on is the best you can do.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's probably the correct way. I'm just a little bit crazy.
Oh no, there's no right or wrong. It's just like preferential. Like how do you feel? What do you want to do with your stuff?
Yeah, like I said it before, I try to strike a balance between being honest.
What up?
Oh, did we lose him?
I think you broke up a little bit. You said you wanted to strike a balance of what? Oh,
No, that fade usually means a
Easier for me
connection.
to draw now. Like I can
Oh,
be
there
like,
we go.
oh man,
oh, welcome
oh,
back.
oh,
Yeah,
whoops, did I?
yeah. You just
Oh, I think
dropped
I'm
out
off.
for a
You're gonna
little
have to
bit.
start that over because you cut out as soon as
Oh,
you started. Sorry.
sorry about that. Yeah, I was saying, yeah, I try to strike a balance because like sometimes it's fun for me to go back and draw things that I wasn't able to draw at the time. Like, oh, I'm better at drawing this background now, so I can do the scene the justice that I wanted to do it. Uh, but like I said, I also try to keep it honest to what it was before.
Yeah, to keep the energy that you had invested originally. Have you ever read
Yeah.
Double K by Captain Osaka?
No, I don't think I have.
So it was a Miami Vice meets Gurren Lagann comic. It was an alternate universe Gurren Lagann comic, webcomic on
Oh wait,
DeviantArt.
yes,
Yes,
yes, I
Double
do
K
remember that.
by Captain Osaka. For anybody listening, I mean, I would Google it right now trying to show people, but it's super difficult to find right now because like he pulled it out off of anywhere. Shout out to Captain, or I forget his last name, but Nate. His name is Nathan. Nate. And
Wow, that's a blast from the past.
right, he
Yeah.
was working on Amphibia actually. He's done work for Amphibia as a storyboard
Okay,
artist on
nice.
Cartoon Network, and he's done a Get a Robo episode, which I was super hype about. Well, not okay. He made Get a Robo references within Amphibia, and I was like, "You mad lad? I want to do your job." But
that, that that's one of those shows that I like. I always wish I could have worked on that one. That and I think Owl House. Those have similar art styles to how I like to work.
yeah, but why I mentioned Double K is because he started off on DeviantArt making a web series for Double K, and he released a chapter, and then he made chapter 2, and then when he wanted to make the book on print to put it around or like make a crowdfunding campaign for it, he went ahead and retouched the entirety of chapter 1 and redrew it in his like more modern style.
Mm.
And I was like, you did not have to do that, but I get it.
Yeah, it's like the temptation, like to because you want it to be the best that it can be, but also, some people like to see the old stuff. It's a tough, like I mean, on the other, like it's one of those things where when I think about it from my perspective as an artist, I want everything to look good. But when I think about it from a fan perspective, I like to read the old stuff sometimes. Like I'll I love looking at the old JoJo's and like the old, Dragon Ball and stuff like that. just as much as I love looking at the new stuff. It's
Yeah.
just uh, like So I try to think of it from both perspectives, from as a customer, as an appreciator of the art, and as somebody who's making it.
I feel my middle ground with this is I will adjust things that I feel are mistakes in the art. Whenever, like,
Yeah,
for my current print of Boxcar City Rush, I have some pages adjusted for the physical print that are not like the way how I put it on the website. Just to adjust minor things that I feel like, oh, this could have been drawn better, or oh, this was just like it looks a little bit too off, and I need to just fix it. But I don't go overboard. I wouldn't redraw pages because that's just
yeah, yeah. I wouldn't redraw anything. I'd probably add more backgrounds, uh, fix up a few faces for characters that I just hadn't figured out what they looked like yet, or something. If it looks really bad, I don't know. I'll approach it when it comes time to put the book together. I want to make something when I make the book. I want it to be something that's worth buying, even if you've already purchased the last Ozzy book. So that's where
I'm
I'm kind of going into it with that in mind.
I'm rapidly approaching finishing up the uploads to Newgrounds for issue 1, and issue 2 is something that I have been kind of lamenting over since I put it out, because it was a lot of growing pains from traditional to digital. And there's a lot I'm not happy with the second issue, and I have been, since I put it out, wondering, should I go back and redo this? And sometimes I'll be happy with it, and other times I'll consider, no, this has to be redone. It looks
Yeah.
awful. And I guess once I get there, we'll see what happens. But if it comes to having to redraw, it's gonna be a lot of redrawing, and I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, it's yeah. That's the other thing, is the time aspect. So it's one of those, like, it's something that's fun for me to do if I have the time to do it, but I have to be realistic about what I can achieve in a day. So
yeah.
I
you
also
don't want
like
to spend
think
all the
about
time
that.
drawing something you've already drawn.
Yeah, and I think about that mentality too. Where just like some things deserve to be just as presented as they were when it happened.
Mm,
And I feel as though, like, for issue 2 of my comic, the growing pains deserve to be shown. On one
yeah,
hand, on the other hand, I'm like, ugh.
yeah. It's tough. It's a inner battle I'm constantly having.
And then once issue 3 came on by, because I have a page rate of about one issue a year at this point. I was just, all right, 2 years of not drawing on this comic. Let's see what we can do. And I put out something I'm pretty goddamn proud of. There is nothing I regret about with the most recent issue, and I hope I can keep that energy moving forward. And anybody making comics can keep that energy with everything they do, honestly.
It's a great feeling.
And there's also right about the time I started transitioning away from sex jokes for the titles to heavy metal focus.
Nice. Yeah, the um like I said, when I start doing the book, I want it to be like a nice kind of final stamp for Ozzy, for each Ozzy chapter. So that I'm approaching it from that angle.
I put
But
two of my favorite bits from the first chapter that I read in the general chat if Gens wants to pull that up.
Yeah, I've been like putting them up on screen as soon as they were going up for
Okay.
anybody watching.
that's still
So
one of my favorite pages from the first one.
Yeah.
the New Jersey panel or the record shop?
Oh, the record shop exploding with the lightning bolt.
Oh, it's a great shot. Rest in
I
peace,
still,
vintage vinyl records.
I still like that one. There's
It's
still some
it's it's
stuff
such
in
a
it.
fun it's such a fun like
Yeah,
little like joke. In the entire world, there's only one place where human malice accumulates and festers the most. New Jersey. And you like Gloomberg with the satanic like, mark, the pentagram.
yeah. There was a lot of self-deprecating Jersey stuff, which
It's
I think played really well. I mean, I remember people bringing that comic up to me. That was the first thing I drew, where people would buy it at the convention, and then they'd come back to the table to talk to me about it. And I remember that feeling really validating.
Isn't that the best feeling in the world?
Yeah, it was just
I
like
had that happen a few times as well. It's
it was definitely
unbelievable.
the first. That was the first time where I remember drawing this and being like, "Oh, I might be onto something a little bit." So that, so I just kept drawing it, and that was kind of, and now it's like almost 10 years later.
Do you know the song "Bomb New Jersey" by Voltaire?
Yes.
Hmm.
I got the lyrics up right now. The bombs come down on Morristown, and Trenton's up in flames. Newark we drowned, then burned it down, but Elizabeth still smells the same. Many butts will breach on Monmouth Beach. We'll erase Orange from sight. I'm okay. I don't like the oranges. They can go.
Good old New Jersey.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, and Jeff's other idea that's still in the works, the state of New Jersey, is such.
that's coming much later, but yeah, it's a
Yeah.
post-apocalyptic comic set in New Jersey.
It
I mean,
is.
Jersey is such a great setting. It's such a, I don't know. There's certain,
You can't really get it wrong, can you?
yeah.
Because I've been revisiting old episodes of Megas XLR.
Yep, I was just gonna talk about
Oh
Megas right
yeah, I
now.
was gonna say yes,
And
exactly.
it's like there's only one gripe I have with Megas XLR, because anybody who's from Jersey knows we don't have the DMV, you know. But it's a small hang up, but I know why they did it. No one outside of Jersey knows what the hell the NBC is.
I don't
Uh,
know, so that's new to me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
oh yeah, the motor vehicles. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But
Um,
I know why they did it for the show, but it's just like with Megas, I don't think they got ever super specific about where in Jersey it was set. I think it's Jersey City. They confirmed it was.
yeah, I can't remember, but I
But
just
it's
remember
just
like I would get really excited whenever anything was about New Jersey because there was always a lot of humor that just came with that. But
my favorite New Jersey joke to date was I finally sat down and watched all of Venture Brothers,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the Gargantua 2 episode where they're in the hotel in space. And Rusty's room, he just opens it and it's just pipes. And he goes, "Great, I have a wonderful view of Elizabeth, New Jersey."
Oh, that's
Also, the fact that the monarch is in a castle in Newark also gets me.
yeah. That's. I was just gonna
nice.
mention the Monarch too. Yeah, Adventure
I
Bros
need
is
to
such a
make
phenomenal show.
if I want Ozzy to be more accurate, I have to like have them go to diners more often and stuff.
Yeah, I got you.
Take him to
But
Sayreville.
Yeah. Yeah, see, like I committed to one location. I mean, there was a script I wrote where they were gonna go to Quaker Bridge Mall and stuff, and like, but like the way the plot went, I had to kind of like, and also understanding how long it takes to make comics, I had to pare a lot of that stuff down and like focus on like the main
Do
yeah,
they at any
continuity.
point in the comic go to the world equivalent of Six Flags at all, or no?
No, they mostly just stay in Gloomberg, which was based off of Princeton, and also like weirdly parts of SVA just kind of mashed together because I was hanging around in Princeton a lot when I was first drawing the comic, but I was reminiscing about my time in art school, so it kind of became a combination of both. And if I could do that, like I said before, if I could do the comic over, I would probably just hard set it in New York City. Um, but I just was writing about what was around me, like
New York's a fun setting. The only thing I wish is that media was a little more honest about what New York was like, because I love New York City. But
yeah,
the New York you see in a Marvel movie is very different from what New
oh
York actually
yeah.
is.
oh yeah, absolutely.
It's
Um,
fantasy New York for everybody that's not in New York, essentially.
I
yeah,
think, funny enough, it's an Instagram page that gets it right. Subway Creatures.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So like I think if I had done it now, I probably would have just committed to the New York thing. But yeah, so a lot of the locations in Ozzy are from like it's like Princeton, but like I think the I actually wanted to draw a map of Bloomberg. I think it's just Princeton, but like flipped upside down, kind of. Uh,
There you go.
so it's like Princeton if you just like took Princeton University out of it and replaced it with the School of Visual Arts, which makes no sense. But like I said, I was just drawing whatever was in my head at the time.
Hey
Yeah,
man, it's
Not
fiction.
not
Do whatever you want.
exactly.
yeah, and I just wasn't thinking too much about things when I drew it. So
Um, there was something I did want to ask because you mentioned this earlier before the show started. You were talking about how you wanted to like start teaching people or like get people better resources to learning comics. earlier.
Yeah, well, like I was thinking, like if I were ever to teach down the line,
Yep.
which I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty shy, so it's a tough thing to think about. But if that was ever something that would happen, I feel very strongly about certain things about how like how the work in this industry, how to because when I went to art school, they taught you a lot about the technique of making comics, but they didn't teach you a lot about, or at least my teachers didn't teach me a lot about the business side of comics, which I've become more aware of over the years now. So
I
I think if
graduated much later than you did, and I can assure you they still don't teach that.
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's
Same
a
thing with
shame,
animation
and
too. Animation's the same way. They
yeah,
teach you how to do the things, but they don't teach you how to find a job.
yeah, and I think that's a shame. And if I were to make a suggestion for these for the curriculum for those schools, or if I were to teach myself or whatever, I would like to teach people how to uh, get agents, how to put a pitch together, how to that whole process, because there's a lot of that stuff in graphic novels. How the market works and stuff like that. And I'm no master. I'm just starting. I'm just starting my journey in that world now. Um, and but it's a lot of things where I wish I had the resources or the knowledge that I have now back then. You know, but also, to be fair, a lot of that stuff didn't exist back then. You know, the whole landscape has changed dramatically.
Yeah,
It,
yeah. It's, I mean, like, how do you go into comics starting now? Like, like, what does that look
I
like? What
think
does it
it's
look like
easier
for?
than ever.
No, no, but I mean,
it's
like,
def-
getting published, something like that.
it's like well, there's like a whole like kind of middle grade and young adult graphic novel world that like I'm just kind of stepping into myself. And um like I think it's really important for young artists to get representation, and you can make money drawing comics that way. Like they can advocate for you and get you deals and stuff like that, and work schedules that work for your life. um and I just didn't have any of that information when I was younger. And to be fair, I don't think a lot of it existed. I think like the literary agents representing graphic novelists is a relatively young concept, if I'm not mistaken. When I was first getting out of school, I had no clue what I was doing. I would just kind of approach editors sheepishly at conventions and kind of like just ask them to look at my stuff. Uh, but I had no clue what I was doing, and there wasn't really much of a market for like people who drew manga-esque looking stuff, really, or fantasy or anything like that. I
Right, right,
remember.
right, right.
So it was just like I just had no clue what I was doing, and I thought it was an awful feeling to come out of college where you've paid all this money and just have no clue what you're doing. It's like turning on an open world video game. When you have that moment when you're standing outside the starting area, and like the whole world is there, and you're just like, well, what do I do? It was kind of like that. Like
Oh, oh, look, a tree sentinel.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of like, I just had no clue what I was doing. And I don't want other people to go through that. So if I had the opportunity, um, at some point, maybe when I have
I
a few books under my belt or whatever, I'd like to be able to pass on what I've learned to other people.
I feel
Again, I'm no expert or anything like that, but just
I really no, we talked about it in the pre-show too. I really respect that. I think that's a really wonderful thing you can do because, as we said earlier, none of this should be a secret.
yeah.
Um,
yeah,
I have no professional publications under my belt, but a lot of the parts of, like, for example, making physical merchandise. Very early on, before I even started like tabling, just started drawing, I would ask people, "Hey, would you get these made?" "Oh, I can't tell you that." It's like, why not?
Really?
yeah.
Okay.
That's great. That's nuts.
And it's like, well, huh? Okay, so I go to another table, like, "Hey, where'd you get this print?" "Oh, I can't tell you that." Or, "Oh, I printed it at home." It's like, "This is really nice paper, though. You did this with inkjet? You sure?"
Wow. Yeah, I
It's
haven't
like,
run into too much of that, thankfully. But I think everyone was just kind of trying to figure things out. But I just had no real conception of how people were doing stuff. When I was in college, I would follow a lot of people who are making like uh, graphic novels around that time. I was really into like the Oni Press stuff around those years, the indie stuff that was coming out from there.
Right,
And I
right, right.
remember following all these artists and stuff, and they all had these like lives where they were going around drawing stuff. No one ever really said how they were making money or anything. So I had no clue how any of it worked. But I remember just kind of wishing there was less secrecy about it. I think the reality though is that nobody really knows what they're doing, and they're all just kind of winging it. And
Hey,
I set
everybody
out
has their
to
own
learn.
story.
I set out to
Yeah,
learn, and I have told everyone I can what I know.
yeah.
yeah. So I think everybody has their own kind of path as to how they're doing it. But like, something I'd like to do if people are interested in it, um, at some point would be to pass on what I've learned to younger people.
And I agree. That's something that I want to do later down the line too. I want to start teaching people. I mean, even as soon as like maybe this year, because
You were talking about some coding tutorials, weren't you?
yeah, I want to teach people how to actually build a website for webcomics and how to host. Like not just like build, because like coding is one thing, but like starting to learn how to host and like how to get your domains, how to handle all this stuff, how to manage a site, how to manage directories for your site, how to update it, and all
I think
that
that
stuff.
that I think that's super important too, because I mean, as we've seen this year, with like the stuff going on with Twitter, like we're all at the it kind of sucks being at the whimsy of like these tech companies, and I do think that there should be like um kind of a back to basics approach where
I
you make your own stuff, and you know how to do it, because when you're at the mercy of these
seeing
things
this
that can
system,
disappear.
yeah, seeing this system starting to crack has honestly been pretty exciting for me. Just because I think people are starting to realize, oh, maybe we shouldn't have the whole internet be just 5 websites.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel
Yep.
I feel really strongly about that, and it's something that's really hurt my enjoyment
The
of the internet.
internet is shrinking,
Yeah, and
and
it's
it is
it's
something I'm witnessing, and it's something that really breaks my heart.
yeah, it's really frustrating because like I used to, I don't know, I don't really like social media very much, and like I don't really like the discoverability of what's happened to the
Oh,
discoverability of
I've
the internet.
Yeah.
taken a step away. If you go to my Twitter, my last like is from like October
Yeah,
because I've had more important things going on.
yeah, no, I'm the same way. I just had to step away from it. Like
It's
I find that like when I get on Twitter, it just there's like I'll inevitably see something that kind of pulls me in, and then next thing I know, I'm like clicking through some argument about something that I don't even care
I'm
about.
I'm
And
Oh.
100% guilty of it, and I am
yeah,
trying to step away from it.
yeah, like
I
I deleted
stand
it off
by
my phone and stuff, and like it's really improved my mental health. I found.
I stand by every stupid thing I've ever said on Twitter, but at this point, I'm probably just going to remake disable replies, just use it to promote Newgrounds and whatever projects I'm going on, because
Mm,
last October, right around that time, is when we started taking the steps to get a new apartment. A lot of it was against our will. In fact, that would have, happened. And it's just like, I got more important things to worry about. I really do.
yeah,
And
it's something that I'm trying to evaluate my relationship with, because I've also found that if you're not on Twitter, you're kind of like invisible. So
Yeah,
it's a bit of a
that's
balancing act.
that's the
Like,
thing. I hate being on social media, but it's kind of the nature of like how I can get anything for myself
yeah,
out
it's a,
there.
it's a frustrating thing, and I think where I'm leaning on now, I took a pretty long break from Twitter in general, but I think where I'm leaning now is I still keep it off my phone, and I'll probably what I'll do is just kind of post stuff, but not really look at my timeline too much, because I find that that's like where I get sucked into stuff, and I don't. Like one of the things that I've really been trying to be mindful of in the last year or so is how much energy I'm expending on things that I don't, or maybe not care about is the wrong word, but like things that aren't relevant to my life.
I
Like
think this is
because
wonderful
it's
transition, because this is similar to something I wanted to bring up a little later.
oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, no, like
Oh
finish
yeah.
what you're saying. I'm
Y-
sorry.
Oh
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, well, I was just saying that like like it's just like like I was saying before, but like if I log in and I see something, and maybe there's an argument about something going on or whatever, and then I click through the argument, and then I have to find out why they're arguing, and then I have to find that, and then I'm looking, and then I have that moment where I'm like, what am I doing? Like I don't even care about this,
I
like
Yeah, I am thoroughly entertained by weird people doing weird things on the internet and making complete asses of themselves. Sure.
Yeah.
I'm part of the old internet as well. I've been watching a lot of these things unfold for decades at this point with certain people.
Mm.
But just the internet really was different back then.
Yeah, I mean, I just miss like I don't know, like it's mostly the discoverability. Like if you're on Google, for example, you can't even really find anything unless you like type like Reddit at the end of it just to find a discussion that's like by actual humans. Otherwise,
I've
you're just gonna
been
get ads.
I've been noticing whenever I try to find something, be it an old picture I'm looking for, a meme or a video, I'll type it into YouTube or Google, and if it's anything but rounded, if there's any cut or edge to it, it's just like you just won't find it.
Yeah, like one of the things that drives me nuts is you'll find a bunch of articles, but they're all paywalled.
Yeah.
Or like or you just find a million pages of ads before you can find anything that's even by like and like in the old days, and again I'm gonna sound like an old man, but you know you would just you could just surf the internet and just find stuff, and it was cool. And I remember like I don't know, it was just really fun, and I would find a community of weirdos who like this one niche thing,
Yeah, stumbling
and
on
you'd go
forums.
there.
We lost that. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Oh,
you'd
yeah.
go there, and then you'd meet a bunch of weirdos, and you can all be weird together, and then
It's been no, I've been watching this happen for my entire life because there's something the internet's something we all grew up with. Um, being able to at one point to like just surf, be like, oh, now I'm on a basket weaving forum. Oh, now I'm on a art site that has been dead for 10 years. An archive of it. Oh, Angel Fire, and we've really
GeoCities.
lost.
Yeah.
We've really lost that. And
and I think shoving everybody together on a few websites it's just been bad for
Yeah.
oh, it's been bad
everyone's.
for
It's just
everybody.
been
Yeah.
bad for society. It's been bad for everything. And
Oh,
yeah,
you would not believe how much I agree with that. Oh,
yeah.
So,
I just don't think it's a good thing, and I feel really strongly about it. And like,
I have a
uh,
very stupid analogy, and it makes sense in my head, and I explain it to people, and they go, "Okay, it kind of makes sense." Which to me, I feel like the basket weaving community, has the right to be blissfully unaware of the bedazzling community.
yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because
Well,
what
I
happens?
think
They all.
a lot of the discourse and stuff you see on Twitter and stuff is the result of having all kinds of people shoved into one room.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like I think that that's a cool thing to have as an option, you know. But because that was the novelty of Twitter when I first got on it, was that it was fun to have a place where you could meet people and talk to your friends and stuff. But like I think it being the default way of interfacing with the internet, and not just Twitter, but every Facebook, everything, YouTube, whatever. Um, I think it's a shame that that those have become the internet, because I do think it really hurts. Like I don't know, just the way we even talk to each other, and especially with like the way Twitter will like show you things that are designed to upset you, so that you quote retweet it and argue with people and
Oh,
stuff
there's plenty
like that.
of artists that thrive off of that, huh?
Yeah, I just don't.
Yep.
I just don't like the environment, and so like I try to be. I'll probably go back to posting updates on it again and stuff because I do find that if I'm not on it at all, like people just don't seem to know who I am anymore.
Yeah. I've
But I
been
don't really want to read it anymore, and like I try to just get in and get out.
I've
I
been limiting how I go about my Twitter intakes. I try and not do the quote retweet stuff anymore. I'm kind of like done with that type of stuff. Right now it's just pure my own art, my comics, and whatever asinine thoughts I come up with at any.
Yeah, I try to like. That's the thing is like that's something I really had to fight to unplug about myself because I'm like, am I sharing this because I think like am I responding to this and quote retweeting this or whatever because I think I have something genuinely interesting to say about it, or am I just like feeding this into the machine so that other people can yell at it and I
Yeah.
can yell at it and we're all unhappy?
Am I caught up in
And
it? Yeah. So
yeah, like I
what I
don't know.
do is I do two things on Twitter constantly. I block every single promoted account. So every time I see a promoted tweet, I block that account, and I never and like right now I barely see any promoted tweets because I've been doing that for like years now. I also
Mhm.
mute words as soon as I see like currently right now Velma is a thing people are talking about.
Don't
Yeah,
even bring it up by name,
I,
bro.
Okay,
I
okay, okay.
muted. I muted. I actually did mute the word Velma
Yeah,
yesterday.
no, exactly. No, that's how you go about it. That's how you go through Twitter. You have to.
You need to let bad media die, and we see it happen. We saw it with Cowboy Bebop. We saw it with
The Netflix
you know,
show, if anyone's wondering what we're talking about, the
But
Cowboy Bebop
my
Netflix show.
yes, the
my
Netflix
thing is
show, of
like
course.
I'm not interested in like hating things.
Yes,
So
same. Me neither.
It's a waste of
so
time. I mean,
yeah.
like,
So
I'm
for
guilty of
me,
it. I'm guilty
oh
of it
yeah,
100%. But
yeah, totally. Like I mean, we all have our vice, like, but I never want to be like thriving off of the negativity. So to
Yeah,
me, when something comes out that sucks, I just kind of shrug and keep going because like there's
exactly.
so many good things around that you can
me,
get into at any
me,
moment.
let me tell you a story. Um, when I was in school or just fresh out of school, one of my friends called me out on something that rattled me to my core, and it is the most to the throat call out someone's ever done to me. But it's also one of the most important because now I live by it, and I'll tell it to you guys. I may have mentioned it again, so now I talk about media literacy and consumption with my girlfriend all the time.
Okay. I
Uh,
know what you're talking about. You can go into it.
yeah, we consuming bad media has an effect on you, whether you know it or not. Constantly consuming media that you dislike and is bad, hate watching, bringing attention to it will have an effect on the content you create.
Yeah,
So, what is the point of wasting your time with something you know is bad? I'm not watching Ring of Power, and I'm not going to because it's going to be a waste of time. I'm not going
I,
to finish the rest of The Witcher because I know I'm going to dislike it, and I can just go back and read the books, which are fantastic.
I also think that it adds to a sense of anxiety too, because like I've, I mean, I've certainly felt this, but I've also seen people say things where they're afraid to make things because they don't want to get made fun of or whatever, or called out or yelled at or whatever. And I think that that's a shame, like because if you're in that kind of environment where everyone is makes it seems like everybody has super high standards about stuff or whatever, or anything can be ripped apart. I don't know. I just don't think it's a very good atmosphere. And as an artist, I just don't. I'm not interested in looking at things I dislike. So
Consume
like I'm
media you know is good, and consume media you enjoy, and
yeah.
also
I mean, like
curate your experiences too, because
Yeah.
you're entirely
yeah.
I'm
If like
not I'm not going to say bad media is without its merits. You can learn from it, but that's only if you're going into it to learn from it.
there are exceptions. There I will never pass up an opportunity to watch a trauma movie with a group of friends or The Room.
Yeah.
That's obviously you're doing it for entertainment or for fun, or even research. I've listened to podcasts of individuals that I'm not a fan of, just for like, okay, let's see if they are as insufferable as I thought they'd be. They were cool. I don't have to listen to any more. Let's move on.
well, there's definitely stuff I've watched that I've liked that's considered bad or whatever. Everybody has
Oh,
their own tastes.
absolutely. Guilty
It,
pleasures. You're welcome to
yeah,
have
No,
those.
no,
I'm
but
not gonna take that away from anybody, but
what
you
Jeff is
understand what I mean, though. It's
what Jeff is
you
trying
don't
to
have
say,
to.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Uh, what Jeff is trying to say is like if you know you are going to dislike something, and if you know it's like objectively bad by your standards, well, not objectively, but like subjectively bad, do not participate with it. Do not
absolutely.
watch it
Yeah,
because it's just
yeah,
going to make you more bitter, and it'll affect your work. I think is what Jeff is trying to say. That
yeah. Like I said, I'm just not interested in looking at things I dislike. So for
yeah,
me, like I said before, is like if I come across something that I don't want to watch or whatever, I just kind of keep going. And when I come onto Twitter and I see everybody kind of clipping something or whatever, and just kind of standing around it and yelling at it, I don't know. It just kind of annoys me.
it's such a waste of
Again,
time. It's such a
again,
waste of
Yeah,
I'm
people's
guilty of it.
time.
I'm
Yeah.
100% guilty of it. I'm guilty of it as early as last year. I'm trying to move
I
on
mean,
from
there was
that
definitely a
switch.
time where I was using my Twitter like that too, and
Yeah.
it's like eating potato chips. Like eventually you're just like, well, like is this actually doing anything for me? Like I don't know. I try to, like I said before, I try to be more mindful of my energy levels and
Yeah. Focus on your own
Uh,
things, essentially, too.
I'm
yeah,
Like,
going
yeah.
to be as cutting or as edgy or whatever as I've always been my whole life with my group of friends and with my stories, but just the energy that is required to consistently be, as the kids say, terminally online is really it's just energy I don't have.
Yeah.
yeah,
To put 2022 into perspective, I had black hair at the start of 2022. Not anymore.
yeah. Oh yeah, I have plenty of grays now.
Hey, I mean, like, I'm getting there too myself, so.
Yeah, like I said, it's just yeah, it's limited energy to use on stuff, and I'd rather
It,
just focus on making my own stuff. So
it
Exactly, yeah.
sounds corny, but it really is the truth. Media you enjoy, good media you enjoy, making content that you want to see, and just don't keep yourself miserable. And it really is
yeah,
entirely possible.
and that's why I had to step away and reevaluate my relationship with it. Currently, I don't really spend too much time on social media at all currently, which and I found that it's dramatically improved my mental health. Um,
Just as an anecdote, I have been more online now than ever, like, throughout the year, because I need to promote my Kickstarter,
mm.
and it is the most miserable I've been. Like, I
I
I
could imagine.
I hate I hate being online. I hate being on Twitter. I like going outside, doing things, hanging out with my friends, or just like working on my comic or listening to music or playing games. But like, I the nature of marketing, right, is just you need to be present. I don't have a marketer. I have to do it myself.
Yeah, it's
This,
I mean, it sucks because it's like you want people to see your stuff and discover you, but you also have to give a lot of yourself in. You have to give a lot of yourself um, to the internet, to people to do that.
yeah, it's
And
it's
I
draining.
go
It's
through
draining to say the least.
yeah, I go through phases. Like there are times where I want to give a lot of myself to people, and there are times where I don't want to be available at all, um, outside of my work. You know,
Right,
and I
right, right.
right now I'm kind of more in a mode where I just want people to see what I do. I don't really necessarily care about them knowing me as a person. I'd rather my work speak for itself, and you know, so I don't really feel the need to be on Twitter in that way now because of that. I'd rather just post the drawings and move on. But
Oh,
I've also found that if I don't post at all on Twitter, then people kind of just don't even know I make anything. So
yeah.
I have to kind of balance it, you know.
Unless they're like me, because like, okay, so let's say like even if you did disappear from Twitter, or even if you did not update Aussie, because like I come from like this old generation of like internet web 2.0, right, where I don't even have like bookmarks of my favorite web comics. I just have them memorized by heart, the titles, and I just type them up in
Yeah,
my search
I
bar
do that too. I
daily,
do that too.
daily, multiple times a day. I've just on your webcomic alone, I check that daily, even if you don't update, even if you haven't been updating for like months. I will still be
Yeah,
checking it like every day, like just because like that's how I am. Because like I'm devoted to the things that I enjoy. I feel that's less so the case right now, especially with younger kids on the
yeah,
internet,
it's hard.
where
It's harder to retain attention. Much harder now. Even I've been drawing. This is going to be the 10th year of Aussie, and even with that, like the difference in how like there was a peak where I was getting a lot of attention on it, and now it's like if I'm not like constantly keeping the plate spinning, then it's really hard to retain it because like um like it's just there's just so many more options for entertainment now.
yeah,
So it's like I don't take it personally. It's just it's tough to compete, you know. And also you have like mega platforms for web comics as a like that
oh,
also like where if
webtoons, yeah.
yeah, and like if you're not on there, like you may as well just not even exist to some people.
Oh,
So
I can't host any of my I can't host my comic on any of these websites because they're just
yeah,
too.
I looked into that stuff when it was first happening, and I just didn't vibe with it at all.
Well, just
Yeah.
No
on
disrespect.
well for me it's just on content alone. Like I think Webtoons
Yeah,
prohibits like what I do specifically.
yeah, and I think that that's a shame because like to me the whole appeal of this internet comics thing was that you could do whatever, and
Exactly, yeah.
to take that and put a leash on it, um I just think it's a shame, and it's another thing where just the way the internet's changed. Uh, but no disrespect to anyone on those platforms.
Of course.
I just didn't think it was something I can make work for myself. Hiveworks is has a vision closer to how I like to make comics, so I'm thankful for that. Uh, but it's tough because if you're not on something that has an app or whatever, or in today's world, your comic may as well just not even exist. And I don't think about it. I don't mind it too much because at the end of the day, I don't make my stuff for attention. I just make it because I like to do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
I'm
if
in
one person reads it or if a million people read it, that's cool too. It's just, obviously, anytime anyone leaves a comment or sends an email to me or whatever, I'm always thrilled. Uh, uh, but like, like I don't have the energy to just constantly be trying to beg people to click on something. It just makes me feel bad. It makes me feel bad about my work, and I don't
I
know.
have
Like,
nothing but like respect for the hustle in the freelance sphere. The amount of pressure it is on freelancers at all times, be it from payment processors to your lovely federal government monitoring how much you're earning. It
yep,
just seems like for honestly a lot of people, myself included, I don't think I could live like that. And
it's it's tough. It's a learning process, and it's something that I've been navigating
I
myself as
respect
I
the hell out of you and any freelancer that does it, but it is an ever hostile uh, place to be a
yeah
freelancer with
Yeah.
every passing year too. And
Yep. Yep. Yep.
I have nothing but like respect and
yeah, and that's why I get frustrated when I see these mega sites and stuff doing things to make it the usability worse. Twitter has gotten worse about this with the algorithms and stuff, and creating problems that make you pay to get past them. And it's just I don't know. I really wish there was a I don't know, just like a complete overhaul of the internet.
oh, that'd be fucking fantastic.
Oh.
And
Yeah,
I'd like to see it, and hopefully it happens within our lifetime because that would be both hilarious, entertaining, and also very important, I would say.
So what I
there was a period where I thought it was kind of going to happen with Twitter, but it seems like everybody just kind of accepted it.
it's
Twitter's interesting right now because despite all the weird changes and bullshit going on in the back end, my experience hasn't changed that much.
yeah,
Mm.
it's Twitter is
And
still
seeing
kind of Twitter. But
people like ran for the hills for a bit. Oh, back to Tumblr. Yeah, good luck with that.
I actually quite like Tumblr right now. I've always been on Tumblr. I have a pretty quiet Tumblr experience, I guess, because I only follow artists, art blogs, and stuff, and I kind of just post my pages and don't really say anything else on there.
Is
that
it still a super active community for someone that does something more like a more friendly say for a comic like a Ozzy?
It's not super active, but I have people who consistently fave stuff, and I don't know. I just like it because it's quiet.
yeah.
I think I'm like in my old man internet phase right now.
Very, very.
I'm like the guy on the porch, with the the
Well,
rock.
okay.
Very
So
on the Christian
here's
side.
here's
Yeah.
where I pitch Newgrounds to Eric. As a spot because Newgrounds has a comic section right now. Like you can tag your stuff specifically. They have illustration, other movie, but like you can do comic under the
Okay.
tag. And
I've admittedly not really seen too much. Like, I think when I saw you posting about it, I was looking at it, Newgrounds and stuff, and I honestly had no clue that it even was still like a website. I remember Newgrounds from when I was younger.
20,
I,
yeah,
I,
20
I had,
plus years strong.
and
yeah, I had no
it's
clue that
getting
it was like
stronger.
a
It,
website.
it had a lull period, but then praise be Ninja Muffin 69 I think his name, or 96, Ninja Muffin 96. Praise be for him and Phantom Arcade making Friday Night Funkin' because it just breathed new life into the site.
Huh.
And it got a lot of like younger people onto Newgrounds.
I thought there
And
was a spike in Newgrounds' popularity right around the whole Tumblr exodus happened.
slightly, but then like everyone just shifted to Twitter because Twitter, you could do like the whole Tumblr like tirades and like hate fests on Twitter. And
Good thing Newgrounds limits that to the forums.
oh yeah, Newground. Oh, don't. Bless. Okay, bless Tom Fulp. I love Newgrounds. I love everything about Newgrounds except the BBS, the forums area. It's just, oh, the type of people that go on there. It's just,
Oh no.
it's just. I mean, it's old internet,
Yeah.
and like the good and the bad and all that entails with it. It's, uh,
I mean, I'll take it over false sanitation, you know?
well, there could be a middle ground. You see, I love Newgrounds as an artist, being an artist on Newgrounds, because I just literally upload my work, and then people will give their one comment, and then like the conversation kind of ends there, unless they want to message you or do something like that. And it's a very, very pleasant experience. And Newgrounds has been nothing but kind to me there.
I think that's nice because like that's one thing I do miss from like old internet is leaving comments. And I'm trying to get better about this myself because I know it's nothing personal that people don't leave comments on stuff anymore. It's just the way the internet is. It's so fast paced now that like I'll read something, love it, and then just not even say anything. But and I have to be better about it myself too. But whenever somebody leaves a comment on something and I make something, I like even if I don't know how to respond to it or whatever, I feel great,
Yeah,
when I see that because it's like somebody took the time to check this out and say something, and it's just a great feeling compared to just clicking a like button or whatever. I don't know.
yeah. On Newgrounds, I leave comments all the time, for at the very least for things that are on the front page, that are
Mm.
featured. I will always try for animation, for art especially. I will just be like, hey, I like this bit about your art, or hey, I like this and that, because it just, I like it when people do it to me, and I want to like build that sort of community of like positive reinforcement. Like if you do something that's worth praising, it's good to praise the person that made it.
uh it's just like that. Yeah, that
Make
yeah,
people's day. Make people's day.
yeah,
Yeah,
the community, you get what you put in to the community,
yeah,
and if everybody's commenting on stuff and encouraging people, it's just a nicer atmosphere to me.
yeah. On my
And
on
that's
my
something
own,
I really do miss about the older internet.
yeah. Just as an aside, quick aside, on my own comic, I pretty much set up a comment section on there, and I can teach people how to do that whenever I start the tutorial series. But I don't get comments that often on my comic, but whenever I do, it always makes my day. It always makes me
Yeah,
feel super happy that people are using my site, which is uniquely tailored to my comic, to interact with my comic, and to me, that's like my most favorite thing.
yeah, it's great. It's just knowing that someone, because it's like posting that stuff is like it's like shouting into a cave sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So it is nice when you get the echo that comes back and you're like, oh man, somebody read this. Wow, So,
I uploaded.
yeah, I love it. It always makes my day.
Since you need to upload a couple pieces to Newgrounds where you can get scouted, I uploaded a couple things. I drew just the sketches I did of like my take on like a humanized Agretzko. I got a really nice comment on it. Like when I made the day I made the account too. So it
Nice.
it does make people happy. It
The
does cheer
Yeah,
people up,
the
and it's
human
really nice to
Agresco,
see.
yeah. I'm putting up on screen right now, yeah.
I love that.
Great
Speaking of
detail
the
and character
front
design,
page,
yeah.
thank you. Speaking of the front page, the one on there right now, the movie Bozoke.
Oh, Bozok, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. The Newgrounds front
I
page
think I laughed
currently.
for a good 10
shit.
minutes watching that. It was so good.
I think there is a drawing of Kimmy on Newgrounds somewhere. 'Cause I think that's
Yeah,
my
yeah.
first time
I was
I saw it.
actually I was actually looking up like Ozzy the Vampire on Newgrounds, and I did find some like Kimmy fan art, or like someone commissioned
Yeah,
somebody to make Kimmy.
yeah, that made me happy. I was like, oh,
That's a very special feeling when someone commissions other artists to draw your characters, because I'm like, whoa, okay.
yeah,
I
yeah.
do
There's
I
a
do that
few.
often in my comic, but like you didn't need to like hire another person, but like I mean, that makes me very happy, because I'm just
Yeah,
like, hey,
there's a few out there for Ozzy I've seen that makes me happy
oh,
because it's
there's
like,
Izzy the vampire. Oh no, never mind. That's not. Never mind. I like. I'm so sorry for people that saw that on screen right now.
Yep.
Here's yeah.
Gotta shout him out now.
yeah,
No, I mean they showed up on
Ozzy's
screen. So
Ozzy's
like people
brother.
can look it up. Ozzy's long lost sister.
Yeah.
But yeah. I've been meaning to ask like what are some like of your favorite webcomics that are online right now? Eric. I can search them up real quick.
That's a tough one. Yeah, I'm gonna expose myself and say I don't really read too many.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Okay.
I
Do you know deadwinter.cc?
yes.
That's one of my favorite ones. Also.
My favorite webcomic that's not currently updating, but I've been pestering him to update it, is Beyond the Canopy by my friend Jonathan Griffiths. Uh, that's probably my favorite one. I
Oh
really
yeah,
do
I've been
hope
yeah
he's
yeah.
listening to this. I don't know if he is.
It's funny that you
I
mentioned that. This is like yeah, one that
I
I've been
don't know if
like
he's listening to this right now. If he is, I really want him to bring it back. I've been pestering him for a while, but he's doing other stuff. But I really do want it to come back. I really do enjoy it.
over
Both as
600
his
pages
friend
of
and
Beyond the Canopy, by the way. Yeah, it's been a
yeah,
while.
it's a great read. It's a comic I still look at a lot. I really like it. And yeah, it's just got that fantasy adventure spirit and stuff like that. It's really cool. And yeah, totally recommend it if you haven't read it. And
Yeah, I'm showing it
uh,
on screen right now for people on YouTube.
awesome. Yeah.
As
Everybody listening to this, all flood his DMs or whatever and just beg him to bring it back. I'm doing a harassment right now in this
Be
one case.
Beyond the Canopy by Jonathan Griffiths.
Yes.
I said it earlier, but I'm legendarily bad at sitting down and reading stuff. But there is a comic that hasn't been updated in a very long time that I thought was endlessly fascinating, and I'm sure neither one of you two have heard of this one, but I just put it in the chat. It's called The Dreadful.
The Dreadful. Let me see
Just
this.
check out the first page, and you'll see exactly why I like this comic.
Oh,
I've
the
seen it.
hard
I've,
inks.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, I
I've
love
seen this
this.
described as a schizophrenic western, and it's like that's a good summary.
Yeah, I haven't yeah, yeah. I have to read more webcomics. I haven't
Oh,
really read too
the
much stuff.
classic era of like the manga inspired web comics from back in the day, like Spinnerelli, if you remember that, if anyone remembers that.
Yeah, yeah, like all the stuff that I was reading, it was mostly like stuff that me and my friends were making when we first started out. So a lot of them haven't really updated. I'm kind of like the only bozo still doing this, but uh, yeah, like so a lot of my favorite stuff came from then. But in terms of current stuff, obviously I've read Boxcar City Rush twice now.
Oh, dope. Thank you
So
so much. Yeah.
and like so like that that I but like other than that I haven't really read too many web comics recently. I do I have to get better about reading new comics in general. I tend to kind of like default to reading stuff that I already enjoy, which I don't
I'm
want to.
guilty of that too. Oh yeah, I see this character
Yeah,
up on screen right now, Jeff. This giant like man in a 10-gallon hat with these massive pistols. Yeah. Okay.
oh, I did read another one that I liked recently called Bicycle Boy. I really enjoyed that
Oh,
too. So I think that's what it was. It's if that's the one I'm thinking of. Let me look.
Bice,
Yeah,
Bicycle Boy updates
anything,
every Friday.
anything on Hiveworks. Like, there's a lot of great creators there.
Oh, Hiveworks has a bunch of great stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just uh there it still has that like, online publisher mentality of just like, select group of people that can
yeah.
get
It's a
on.
publisher, and like, yeah, like I recently started working with them, and it's like it's like yeah, it's something of like a collective. So they have like if you go there, they have a bunch of stuff. Um, I like just from working with them, I see a lot of stuff getting posted in the chats and stuff like that all the time. Um, so that's usually mostly what I get to see these days because it's around. But yeah, I don't really read too much on my own. Star Impact, that's another one.
Oh
That's
yes,
really good.
shout out to Jack McGee, Star Impact. I actually
Yeah,
had that up earlier because I wanted to shout him out because like that's also one of my favorite webcomics that's currently ongoing.
I
Jack,
do want to
yeah,
note that we are pushing just about 2 hours, and I do believe you did have put out a tweet for questions for Eric.
yeah. don't worry,
Okay.
we can go over the 2 hours as long as we have the time. Like if you guys have the
just
time,
as a gauge of time, you know.
yeah. 2 hours is like my soft limit, but we can always go over.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm in no rush, but
Yeah.
want to let you guys know for the sake of being able to gauge in case anybody has to get up next day.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah, let's move on to the actual, like, people's questions at the moment
Sure.
right now. Let me pull it up right now. Let me find the tweets. I have to dig through my media tab because I've been updating it like constantly right now. There it is. All right. The first set of questions is by Pastel Fire at Frailbulb on twitter.com. Preguntas. How's y'all's days going? She asked 3 questions. So this is the first one. So like, let's start this off. All right. Eric, how's your day been going so far?
Pretty standard day, I would say. Good day. Woke up, kind of just drew all day, really.
Life of the artist.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what I did today. I think I literally drew. I drew and played Fire Emblem, the new Fire Emblem.
Oh,
So,
how because like I hear a lot of mixed things about this game.
oh, I'm loving it.
All right.
It's like I think there's been a lot of disappointment because it's not like the last one,
Yeah.
which was a very social sim heavy game. Uh, but
This
that's
one's more
actually
like a
why I'm.
celebration of the franchise, is what I took it as, rather than like
Yeah,
it
and
being like
it's more stripped down and to the point, which I appreciate as a enjoyer of role playing games.
gotcha.
I did like the social stuff in Three Houses. I liked it a lot too, but I'm glad that the series can kind of go back and forth between different things or whatever. Uh, this one has more of like a Saturday morning anime kind of vibe, which I like, but I can also understand why it wouldn't be to everyone's taste, especially since Three Houses was a very dense and like more I guess you'd say political kind of story, like more political intrigue.
Well, yeah,
A lot of
most
world
Fire
building and
Emblem
stuff.
games tend to be like, of the like, how's the world going? What's the world state? How are different like factions interacting
Yeah,
with each other? Yeah.
this one's more of like a good old uh, hero versus the demon lord kind of story.
Yeah, classic.
Uh, yeah, like here there's a hero and there's an evil monster who's destroying the kingdom, and you got to get a bunch of cool guys together and go fight it. Uh, which is like I always really like that concept. Like the whole Dragon Quest kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I'm really enjoying it. I can completely understand why people will be turned off, especially if they really like Three Houses. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I'm playing it on a hard mode for the first time. I've never really played a Fire Emblem on hard with permadeath on, so it's
Oh,
a very
it's an
challenging.
experience. Yeah. Enjoy
Yeah,
resetting entire
oh yeah.
maps. Yeah.
So I played a lot of that today, and I've been penciling my book. My deadline's coming up, so that's pretty much all I did today. But I would say it was a pretty good day overall.
Yeah. Just like a micro question, like a slight tangent. Because we didn't cover this earlier. How do you feel about the deadlines with the publisher? Like, how do you manage your time in that way?
Well, I'm working with, like I said, I'm working on 2 books right now, and one book, for my book, it's been pretty much hands off. So they give you a deadline, and you just kind of they just kind of leave you to your own devices. And honestly, it's been fine. I mean, I think the toughest thing is probably just not to give in to the urge to slack off. But I've always been kind of a disciplined artist in that way.
Yeah.
Uh, but I
It's
think with my other book, which I haven't actually started working on yet, the next book I'm doing, that one has more of a it's with a different publisher, and that one has a more hands-on. Like they actually made a schedule for me. Uh, when with due dates for different chunks of the book and the expectations and stuff there. I actually am more excited for that, I think, because it's like since you're checking in every month and I have to have something done by that, there's no like I don't know, like there's no room to clown around. It's like get this done by this time, and I think like I do work better. I think when it's broken up into hard deadlines like that. So um yeah, I I think both approaches have different, they both have different strengths and weaknesses. For me, for how I like to work. But again, that's another case where I'm getting both flavors, in 1 year, which is interesting. Uh, but I think I prefer the hard schedule, like with frequent check-ins a little bit more, just because it makes me feel like I'm less alone on an island, I guess.
I got you. It's nice to have people to bounce ideas around with. Yeah.
And I mean, to be fair, like I could always check in with my editor whenever I want, and my agent and everything. It's not like I'm being left to the wolves or anything like that. Um, but I do like that expectation of like have 30 pages done this month, have 30 pages done this month. I do kind of like that a bit more than, whereas with what I'm doing right now, it's a bit more of a vague structure.
I can't imagine doing 30 pages a month right now unless I'm working full time. Is the thing.
Well, yeah, This is my second year of drawing comics full time. So my book is about 300 pages, and I penciled that all in 3 months. So
Oh wow!
That's
Congratulations!
insane.
Yeah, that's impressive.
That's insane.
Yeah,
That's really good.
yeah.
yeah, like I'm definitely finding, like, when you're freed from having other things to worry about, you can just focus on making the work, and it's a much more freeing experience. And I hope I can keep doing it. Um, like I can it's nice to just be able to throw myself completely into something,
Yeah.
and not have to worry about how to put food on the table. How else am I gonna?
Oh, crossing my fingers there for my own stuff.
Yeah, it lets you kind of, like I said, lets you just put everything into what you're doing. So uh so yeah, like the the scheduling and stuff like that. I'm since I'm doing it, since all I have to do is this. So I'm finding it pretty pretty great. Like just trying to, I try to block things out into when, and be realistic about what I can accomplish. But like I don't find that it's too hard to meet the deadlines or anything like that. Obviously,
Right,
there's things
right.
that chaos happens, deaths, getting sick.
Yeah.
I can't account for that, and thankfully, my publisher and my editor has been super um, understanding about that stuff. I've never had any issues or anything. So yeah, it's been going great. I
Yeah.
forgot what the original question was, so hopefully I didn't screw that up.
No, don't worry.
It's just how was your day?
Yeah, it's how was your day? I just had the tangent because when you were mentioning deadlines, I was like, oh wait, that's something I wanted to ask you about the process of things. And so like, I'm glad that you brought it up so I could remember. But now it's Jeff's turn. Jeff, how was your day?
Well, it's never a dull day in my life because I was doing some type of shit or another. But
Yeah.
woke up, had breakfast, and then errands pretty much until the show started. I did come home and make dinner for me and my girlfriend.
Nice.
Um,
Nice.
that's really it. I haven't had a
Oh,
lot of time. I did also, like, with some downtime. I went to go visit my dad.
oh,
Since
nice.
this actually is my first time living away from family, so still like very much miss them and want to hang out with them. And in that, where I was able to watch a very shitty movie called Red Eagle, as well as read the first chapter of Ozzy. So
Nice.
being able to prep for today's episode too.
It's no, I mean, what I wanted to say is it's always a nice feeling to visit family when you've been living away from them for a little bit, even if it's just like, for in your case, just like a few like minutes away, right?
Yeah,
But like, it's still like I feel like you appreciate or you appreciate each other's company a bit more when you have that distance between you guys.
it's been really good for everyone's mental health, honestly, because I love
Yeah,
the hell out of my family. But it's a story I hear all the time. It's like I love them, but I can't live with them.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I had a family day on Saturday, so I had my family fun day, and then today I was like in full artist mode.
Yep, yep. Um, as far as my day, how it goes, I'm not gonna get into too much specifics because like it's just like it's been a pretty rough day super early on, but otherwise prep for my Kickstarter. I'm on a ketogenic diet right now, so I've just been like working on that type of stuff. For anyone
I've been
listening,
wanting I've
yeah,
been wanting to try that.
for anyone listening, ketogenic is pretty much you eliminate or you limit carbs to its absolute minimum that you can intake in a day. It's not necessarily zero, because I mean you gotta eat some vegetables. You gotta eat like actual plant nutrients, just to like
Threshold for ketosis is pretty strict, though, isn't it?
it's like 20 grams. Well, you can have 40 grams of carbs and still enter ketosis in a slower period of time, like over a longer period of time. But ideally, 20 grams a day is your hard limit. And once your body enters ketosis, it starts burning away fat cells in your body. Because like right now, if you eat carbs, like, and you're not moving around a lot, your carbs settle and become fat. Your body's trying to like eat away at your carbs, but like there's too many carbs there, glucose rather, sorry. There's too much glucose in your body, and the surplus turns into fat, and your body cannot burn away through all of it in a meaningful amount of time unless you're doing crazy exercise.
I gotta give it a try. I gotta lose some fucking weight. But I now have my own living room where I can actually use my Ring Fit, so
Yeah.
Oh, I
That
just got that for Christmas.
it's
hey,
really fun. It's
no,
really fun.
yeah. When I was living in California, I was using Ring Fit daily, and I was in the best health I was ever. Like, in my
Yeah, I've never done full keto, but even limiting carbs, I limited carbs all the way down to pretty much nothing. I don't think I was ever in ketosis, but I did lose weight very rapidly. So
well, no,
it does
because
work.
you did enter ketosis. If you eliminated carbs, it to down to zero, especially, you will lose weight as fast as possible.
Yeah, I was pretty much just eating meat and vegetables every day and
My
eggs.
mom, my mama does keto to this day, and she'll like when I go visit her, we'll go to a burger joint. She's like, "Oh yeah, I like this place because they take an entire head of lettuce, cut it in half, and those are your buns."
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, what I was doing was I would just replace my rice and stuff with like cauliflower,
yeah,
and I was just avoiding bread and stuff like that and sugar.
yeah.
And
It's good for okay. Like I say this all the time. Like sugars are the killer for
yeah,
pretty much anybody. So trying to limit your sugars will do wonders for your body. Instead of
it's
drinking soda, drink water. That type of stuff.
yeah. I'm a big water drinker. I don't drink anything but
Sparkling water
water.
has been good transition for me, just
Yeah.
because I get
One
the
one of the crazy things too is once you're off sugar for a long time and you bite into something that has sugar in it, you can taste the chemicals. Like
Oh, dude.
I
No,
remember
I need to tell you.
I
I
had a
need to tell you
slice
this
of white
story.
bread.
Yeah. Continue. Continue.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, no, I was just saying I remember I had a slice of white bread after I hadn't had any sugar in a long time, and it was just like, whoa, this is like completely different now. You could taste the
the
stuff
cake.
in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like eating a sweet bun.
Um, I had a pecan cinnabon in, I think, December. Yeah, in December, and I felt like I was poisoned. I felt like I was dying.
I
That
shared I shared a Cinnabon to kind of like celebrate the final episode of Better Call Saul with my girlfriend, and
yeah, yeah.
it's the sweetest thing I've ever tasted in like goddamn life. It was awful.
I literally in my blood. Okay, so I had cancer in the past, and I've been through like chemotherapy, and like when if you've ever been on chemo, for anybody listening, chemo is essentially you're putting poison into your body to fight off the cancer, right? But you feel
Yeah,
it in your blood. You feel your blood just like you feel the poison in your body. I have never felt that since until I had a Cinnabon, until I had that pecan Cinnabon. When I ate that pecan Cinnabon, I was like, oh, this feels like cancer. This feels
oh
like
my god,
actual poison for my body. Like, this feels like
jeez.
chemotherapy. And I'm like, no, throughout the whole day, I felt like, in Dark Souls when you're taking like ticks of poison damage, like walking through Blighttown. Yeah, that's what I felt.
Yeah, it's once you're off that stuff for a long time, it really hits you like a truck when you have it again. I mean, like
Yeah,
right now, I'm in bad eating mode because I've been like holed up in my room drawing for weeks on end right now.
Yeah, that'll
But
do it.
like, yeah, like so I haven't been taking care of myself properly. But when I am in health good food eating mode, healthy mode, yeah, you can really feel the difference. It's nuts. Like I definitely I've been trying to lose weight myself, and I definitely encourage anyone to eat like fresh food and stay away from the processed stuff.
here's
It's something that I've been trying to get better at myself, but it really does make a difference.
here's the fun one regarding food, because everything, especially in 2022, got so unbelievably goddamn expensive.
Yeah.
Yep.
I started just buckling down, got myself a knife set, and just started learning. I want to make this from this restaurant, I'll make it at home. I want to eat this from this restaurant, I'll make it at home. And it's now
Yeah.
gotten to the point where, and I tell people this because people who have known me for any amount of time knows that I've been a Taco Bell fiend my entire life, and I just cannot. I cannot eat Taco Bell anymore
Yeah.
because
I go through.
I make it at home, and it's just so much better. It really is.
Yeah, I go through phases where I'll have like no fast food or anything, and I need to get back into doing that again. Like I said before, I've just been slacking because I've been so busy. But uh, but it's like it really is like the worst because once you start eating that stuff, you start getting addicted to it again, and then it becomes a cycle. And when you're off of it, you can really just feel it because you're like, man, like I feel great. There was this one day I remember I was walking down the street and I was just like, it felt like the sun was shining extra brighter and like the birds were singing, And I was like, is this like what humans are supposed to feel like?
Yeah, I
It was
got
just
you.
like I had no sugar and no corn syrup in my body bogging me down or anything, eating away at my brain. It was just it was such a I have to I miss it. I really do have to get back to it. I mean, I've been making steps. I actually just bought a bunch of healthy food and stuff 2 weeks ago. So I'm trying to get back onto
Yeah,
it.
every food you can think of, you can make at home. It is entirely
Yeah,
possible,
yeah.
and
Yeah,
it'll absolutely come out better.
I highly recommend everybody listening to just like, try cooking more often or try having home cooked meals more
Well,
often.
it's an essential life skill. It's not limited
Well,
to any gender. It's not limited to any like culture. It's just
yeah,
eat at home,
yeah,
cook out.
and
Of course, we can sit down and call exceptions. Oh, what if you're disabled? Yeah, sure, okay, but if you have the means, it is cheaper in the long run,
yeah.
yeah,
and you will feel better for it.
yeah. It's rewarding too. I find when I eat something I actually made myself from scratch, it's like, hey, I made this. You
When
Uh
you make it and it tastes exactly like you want it to, it's the best feeling.
yeah, it's
yeah,
great.
yeah, yeah.
It's
It's
just rewarding.
it's it's a lot of
I
fun.
made the jalapeno sauce they have at Taco Bell at home earlier this week, and it tastes better, better than the one they
Yeah,
give at Taco Bell, and it was wonderful, wonderful experience.
yeah. It's
Just
like
to transition real quickly into the conversation because Pastel also has another question that's very similar to this topic right now, and I'm
oh
extended
yes.
to both of you. She asked, "What is Eric's favorite food?" But I'll extend it to both of you guys right now.
My favorite food. That's a tough one.
Yeah, it's a very difficult question.
I think what comes to mind though, I would say immediately would be breakfast sandwiches, uh, like a ham, egg, and cheese on a bagel or something like that. Even though we were just talking about cutting carbs, anything like that. Like if I go to a good bagel place and they have like a big honking breakfast sandwich, that always gets me excited. Uh, I also really like baked macaroni and cheese, like the way my family makes it. That's like I really
Oh,
like
that's
that a
nice.
lot.
Yeah.
Like that's like super bad for you.
Yeah, it
but
is, but like
I
it's
do really like that.
delicious. Yeah, I
Brent,
got
Yeah.
you.
did you ever go to Smack in the city?
Yes, I have, and I'm glad that it wasn't there when I lived in the city because it would be terrible. I would be like 500 pounds.
Good lord, Smack is good,
Yeah, it was really good, and
but
yeah,
it's
but
not good when you're a commuter.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
um yeah. Thankfully that wasn't there when I was living there because it would have been terrible for me. But I do really like it.
Those For those who don't know, outside of New York, it is Sarita's mac and cheese. It is just gourmet mac and cheese,
Yeah,
and you can make however you want.
Yeah,
oh man. Now that I'm dying
the,
it, why did you mention smack? Okay, whatever. You know what? All right, it's all good. I'll
now
get
I'm
over it.
hungry.
I'll get over it. I'll get over it.
Yeah.
It's
But yeah, I would probably say breakfast sandwiches are my favorite. I really like eggs actually, scrambled eggs. So anything like breakfast is my favorite food. Breakfast meal. Breakfast is my favorite meal. Like time. Even though I actually don't eat breakfast that much, but breakfast foods are my favorite stuff to eat. So anything like bacon and eggs or anything like that, I love it. Pancakes, waffles, anything like that, I love. So
Jeff. What about you? What do you lean into? What's your vice in terms of food? No limits.
My vice is carbs because I do fucking love Italian food, and that's the absolute worst food you can put in your body when you're trying to lose weight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
Well,
unfortunately, Italians make some goddamn good food.
yeah, I love
well,
it.
if you portion it right, you can enjoy it anyways.
Yeah, but then I'm still hungry.
Yeah, sometimes I find it's worth if I eat a healthy portion of something, it makes me like angry because it's like I want to eat the rest of it.
Yeah, I know, but like,
Italians up there. Mexican has been in my life for a very long time, even though I'm
ooh,
not Mexican
give
myself.
give me a chorizo burrito, and I'm like, oh fuck yeah.
The family that would babysit me, so I was raised by a single mother primarily. They were Mexican, so I got introduced to like authentic Mexican for a very very long time growing up.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's another thing. Spanish food I really like rice and beans and good Puerto Rican restaurant or something like that. That always gets me going.
yeah, I've been leaning a lot into Indian food myself lately.
Oh yeah, I love Indian food.
Uh,
Yeah,
a good
That
chick.
is also food you can make at home,
Yeah,
and it is one of our favorites to make Indian food
yeah.
and
nice.
I haven't been
Japanese food as well,
I
not
haven't been
just
able.
Yeah,
sushi, like actual like rice dishes.
Yeah, I haven't been able to crack the chicken vindaloo. I don't know how they make it in the restaurants, or specifically in this one restaurant that I really like. Cause like, yeah, I can make it, but I can't get it like just right. Sometimes I make it just way too spicy that I can't handle it, and like I feel like I'm dying.
Vindaloo is spicy.
Well, but no, I know, but like the way how I would make it is just to a ludicrous degree. Like I feel like the pain come
I
out
like
when
to
I piss.
Yeah, I like to make butter chicken just because it is like a less like onslaught as far as like senses go. It's
Yeah,
very very smooth and creamy typically.
yeah,
yeah. I've actually gotten into I had like the show Hot Ones like with they eat the chicken the hot chicken on
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah. I want to
Um,
try that type of stuff.
I
Oh.
I had one of the sauces from there once, and it was so powerful that it's like rendered me immune to like spicy food ever since. Like I've found that I can eat like anything now that's spicy, and it doesn't like it obviously affects me, but I can like handle it. Like whereas before, it's like I don't know. It's like I had this one drop of like I don't think it was the last dab. It was the bomb sauce or whatever, and it did like so much damage to my mouth that like I like leveled up like 100 times in one shot.
Well,
And
watch it just
now,
killed like your taste buds, like those specific
yeah.
sensors. It's just like it just nuked them,
At,
and like you just
at
don't.
that point, at that point, are you even enjoying your food though?
No, I would never eat that as what I had. I would never put that on food. Like it's like a stunt sauce. It felt like it didn't even feel like spice at that point. It felt like a swarm of bees in my mouth just stabbing me. Like literally, that's what it was. It wasn't even like a spiciness. It was just pain. And I remember getting up and doing a lap around the house just to keep moving, just
All
because
right.
it hurt so bad. And like,
You ever see that
but,
video of the guy just drinking a bottle of Tabasco?
oh my
I
god,
mean, I
I
used to
could
do
never
that.
do
I used to do that.
it.
Like for breakfast, like not even just like eat anything. I would just like drink like straight out of the bottle. I don't know. Something about the vinegar got me.
Oh my gosh, I could never. But
Google connection vinegar consumption to cancer. Let's see.
but yeah,
Imagine.
yeah,
No,
God.
I
uh, but yeah, spicy food does still make me. I still feel it, but I can handle it now. It's like I can, like I don't know. It's just like I like it still hurts, but it doesn't. Like I actually like it now. I used to be a little bit afraid of it. Now I'm like, oh yeah, just put it on, pile it on. Yeah.
but yeah. Another question that Pastel asks is, oh, I tabbed out of it. Hold on.
I have the tab open if you want me to read it.
Oh yeah. I just got to it. Did you expect to continue your comic for this long?
Uh,
I assume she means Ozzy the vampire.
yeah. Uh, I think so. I don't know. Like I said, there was kind of two phases for Ozzy because when I first drew Ozzy, it was kind of like just a bunch of one-shot mini comics I was doing and selling them at conventions. So I didn't really think of it as a continuing, like as an ongoing thing. so I guess it would be accurate to say that no, when I first started, I didn't know. But when I started making it into like something of a real story, uh, I mean, I knew I'd have a feeling that it would be going for quite some time. Um, I don't know. I've always I know exactly where it's going, and I know what the ending is. So it's not like so I guess I have an awareness that it's going to take some time to do it. Uh, so yeah, I guess it's like a bit of yes and no at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, this is the 10th year of it actually, which is pretty cool because just like wow, 10 years, wow.
Time flies, right?
But yeah, but it doesn't really bother me too much because I just like to see that stuff as like a one thing that I found with comics that I've drawn is that if I do look at my old stuff, I can almost remember what I was doing in my life when I was making it, and I can remember
Yeah.
sometimes down to what I was watching or talking about. So it's like it's kind of fun to have. It's almost like a diary a little bit for me.
Yeah. I
So
mean, I have my author's notes for my comic, and it's just a snippet of like what was happening in my life at the time when I was making that
yeah,
page.
like I can remember like things that I was talking about and stuff, and like so yeah, I don't know if I knew it was going to be going on for this long. Obviously, once I had a better idea of the scope of the comic, I knew it was going to be like this. But um, yeah, it's yeah, a bit of yes and no. I think
Yeah.
it's like when I started off, I just kind of had no clue what I was doing. I just kind of went into it.
For me in Boxcar, I pretty much established Boxcar to be my forever story,
Mm.
where it's more about the setting and less about like particular like there's going to be an end to the narrative. I do have an end in mind, like a particular ending, right? But until I hit that point, I can go anywhere in between.
Yeah,
I can write my own arcs, or like I can write my one shot chapters for a specific character going through whatever they're going through in the city and dealing with whatever they're dealing with. And it's also I designed it in that way. I made the setting and story in that specific way so I can never get bored with it. So I can always just
yeah,
explore new ideas if I want to explore new ideas whenever I want to. And it's robust enough where I could do that. Kind of like Samurai Jack almost. Where like you can
yeah. That's really cool. Like yeah, it allows you to just like do it whatever you want.
yeah. What about you, Jeff? Have you expected to work on Dragon Fister for this long?
Um, well, I don't have as big of an audience, but I mean, if I'm still very much interested in wanting to keep on doing it, despite very sporadic page rating output. I'm For me, it's I guess the fact that I'm still excited
Yeah.
at the thought of once again getting that reaction at the con scene because I don't have huge social media presence, but for some reason people come to SPX and remember and say, "Hey, oh, I bought this last time. Oh, you bought this 3 years ago and you still remember." It's just
That
Yeah, it's really
that's
cool.
that's really cool.
that's the type of thing that keeps me going, and I guess
And
that
that's
thing
also why I'm interested in that's also why I'm interested in like how I do in traditional publishing because like I never really did all that well in the indie and webcomics world. You know, like I never had much of an audience in that world. Like, so I'm interested in seeing like if I that was one of the reasons why I really wanted to get into traditional publishing was to try to reach a different audience also. So um, I'm really interested in seeing what the response is.
yeah, no, and I wish you the
Hopefully
best.
positive.
Yeah, no, I wish you the best of luck with that. Like for me personally, it sounds like a cope, but this is the truth for me. It's just at the moment I'm thankful to be able to have a full time job, not anything related to comics, just so I can kind of work on this on my own pace, on my own time. Because
Yeah,
for now, it really isn't about like being the best selling comic at Image or anything like that, or adaptations or anything. I'm just having fun, and the
yeah,
fact that
yeah,
people are enjoying also what I'm doing, independent of whether I want people to enjoy it. Now, obviously, I do, but the primary audience for my comic is me, and pretty much the basis for anything and everything I do and draw is just because I think it's funny.
Yeah.
yeah. That's how I approach webcomics, where it's like I'm going to dive right into what makes my brain feel good, and you know, I, if you want to read it, it's there. If you don't want to, that's fine too.
Yeah.
Uh, it's
I'm,
like I just think it's exciting to be able to just put that stuff out. So
I'm gonna keep at it. I have a good feeling about Newgrounds because I feel comic like Dragon Fister was right at home when I played like Newgrounds.
mm,
And we'll see where it goes from here. I'm just I tell this to everybody in almost any context, be it in comics, be it in like looking for a job. You're really only a failure if you give up.
right.
Yeah, I agree.
And
Th-
also like yeah, even if you never know who's paying attention because sometimes it can seem like nobody is, and then you stop updating and someone's like, hey, well, where's the thing? And you're like, oh, I didn't know anyone was reading. Like I've gone through that a few times where I've been like, oh man, does anyone even care about this? And and then somebody will leave a comment and you're like, oh okay.
yeah. No, I mean, like, if you develop an audience, if you develop people that enjoy your stuff, they're just going to like it no matter what, and always going to be happy whenever it comes out. Um, that said, I know I have my Kickstarter right for self-publishing purposes, but I really want to see if I can just get Boxcar City Volume 1 at least in some publishers' hands to like get it out there in like bookshelves, like in
I
stores.
think a convention printing your own book is a good step one.
Yeah.
I mean, you show that you're able to, yeah, like you're showing that you're able to do it, that you know how to lay a book out and everything like that, and you've already done the work. So it's like you can shop it to publishers and say, is this like something you're interested in putting out?
Yeah. That's something I need to figure out on my own time, actually. Just to be like, to give it as much of a chance as it can get as a story, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so that was that round of questions from Pastel. Utopihino at Utopihino on twitter.com asks, in your opinion, which is the hardest part of starting an indie webcomic from scratch? What's the secret to drawing better and more consistently? So that's a two-parter.
Um, I'm sorry. What was the first question again?
Yeah,
Like,
in your opinion, what is the hardest part of starting an indie comic from scratch?
uh, oof, I would say now the hardest part is uh just competing with everything that exists, the whole totality of the internet. So it's much harder to get people to pay attention to stuff now that if it's not already established, if it's not already something that exists that get eyes on it. You really have to have something that stands out about it or whatever. And I've never really been good about that. Um, uh, I think that stuff
it's
is the
really
hardest part
tough to
for me.
stand out. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I haven't launched anything new in this world, and I wouldn't really know how to go about it to be honest. Uh, like I said, I come from kind of like the older internet, and I was just kind of still around from there. But if I was to, for example, I have a few ideas of a web comic I'd like to do after Ozzy, but I have no clue how to go about it, or if I do things the same way now. It is hard. Like it's just harder to get people to pay attention. It's really hard to get people to click on things off site.
Oh,
Uh,
it's impossible. On Twitter, it's
yeah,
just like,
yeah. That's like the number one tough thing, and it's why I don't like how social media has taken over everything because it's really hard to get people to look at what you make if it takes them off the website, off the Twitter. In fact, I think I'm not 100% sure about this, but I think a lot of these sites actually limit to how much they'll even show your post if it has a link offsite on it. So it might even be that people don't even see it.
yeah,
But it's hard to yeah, it's really hard to get people to look at something that's not part of an established brand. So uh, yeah, I would say that's the hardest part is the visibility of it now, and I don't envy anyone who's starting in today's world. Um, just because like I really wouldn't know what to do. Like I don't have that experience. But I would say for me, if I were to think about launching something new right now, the part I'd be scared of the most is just trying to get people to look at it.
it's okay. There are one of two things for doing an indie webcomic from scratch. You're just gonna have to accept that at the start you're gonna get low visibility.
Yeah,
or for a long time you're gonna have low visibility. But
yeah. I
but
mean,
you just gotta keep doing it
yep,
because people will start stumbling on it and they'll start hoping for more. And the more regularly you do something, the more it becomes a part of people's lives. Is my take on it. Cause like that's me in webcomics in general. Webcomics is just like strip comics, like back in newspaper times, where like, oh hey, what's the new strip for like Boondocks or Garfield, Peanuts, right? Just like, hey, like it's a part of your life. Even if you're not like, you won't say you're the biggest fan, you're still checking on it, right? But and
yeah,
that's to me that's what webcomics are. Of just, hey, let me check on this thing. Let me it becomes part of my daily routine. And it's something like, even if there's a webcomic I don't particularly like or would recommend to people, it's become a part of my routine, and I enjoy it for what it is, because like, I've followed it for so long that it's become a part of my life. And
yeah.
eh, and simply because the author has been putting it out there consistently. So I think the hardest part, the most difficult thing, is to be consistent despite people not watching at first or not looking at it at first.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
you really have to push through like that initial uh and I feel like this is the same thing I would say with conventions too. When you start working at conventions, you really have to get into the idea that nobody's there to care about, that there is going to care about you, and
yeah,
that's not because like you're bad or anything. It's just that's just how it is, you know.
yeah, they don't
Um,
recognize you.
yeah, they just don't know what you are, like who you are or anything. So yeah, that's something that I think is I think it's just harder to, like when I started drawing comics online, even then when I was starting, comics were still kind of on the internet, was kind of a new thing, or a novel thing rather. Like the people who first started, who got in like on the beginning ground floor of web comics, they had an enormous advantage over the next wave of people. And then there was a generation of people who were putting out more story based stuff as web comics too, and they had a bit of a leg up, I think. But if you're coming into the pool now, it's like it's like, of anything, it's just hard to stand out. Like so yeah, you I would say you would have to be doing it because you really love to do it. Like I wouldn't do it under the expectation that you're gonna blow up and everyone's gonna love your thing,
Yeah.
because it's gonna be really hard for people to look at it. And
If you deliberately try to stand out, and like you're setting out to, like, appease an audience, is I think people intrinsically will understand that like there's something disingenuous about it.
yeah, and yeah, so I would say the toughest thing is probably just the visibility of it. But on the other hand, um, there's a ton of resources now that didn't exist back then. Like there's good things and bad things, but I definitely think that it's just tough. It's just a tough to get something off the ground now. I
Yeah.
think
It's tough to
it's the
stand
same.
out.
It's the
It's tough
same.
to stand
It's a,
out is the thing. Yeah.
yeah, it's the same thing if like you're trying to be a Twitch streamer now, or if you're trying to be a YouTuber now. Like it's just like it's a crowded thing. So uh, it I would say that that's the toughest part.
Yeah. But again, keep consistent, keep trying. You'll find your people eventually, and they'll share things around, or like, share with your friends if you have friends that are doing similar things to you. Be like, hey, check
Oh,
out
and
this thing. Yeah.
what was the second part of that question? I completely
Um,
forgot.
what's the secret to drawing better and more consistently?
Oh,
keep doing it.
well,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a
It's not
simple
the
one. Yeah.
Yeah, drawing better. It's not a fun answer, but yeah, you just have to do it a lot. Like
It's the
and
only
also
answer, really. It's
yeah, and also pay attention to. I would say pay attention to why you like something. Pay attention to like what you think is good about something, and because you don't want to just draw the same thing over and over again. Because then, but like if you keep drawing comics, especially, you'll start improving really fast because you have to. And then when you look at other things, anything, comics, art, movies, whatever, just try to keep an eye out as to like what you think is good about something, or and then try to apply it to what you do. Like, oh, I really like the way you drew that shoe. That's really cool. Like, I never paid attention. There's a lot of things in the world that like I find that I've never really paid attention to until I draw it.
I have
And I think that that's like something that if you keep an eye out when you're looking at the details of the world and stuff, it makes you a better artist.
I have a fun one for this one, and that is steal, copy, trace, and take at every given
Yeah,
opportunity you can.
yeah,
Because
copy
it is
things.
only a problem if you try to pass off something as your own work. But as far as foundation goes, or as far as working smarter, not harder, you are more than welcome to take as many shortcuts as you possibly can.
Yeah, and also reference anatomy.
Foundation,
Reference is a huge one. If you want to draw something, pull up a picture of it, or better yet, take photos if you can. Uh, and you know, you really you want to add your own style to it, but you also want to bring it to life. And so I would say like yeah, draw a lot, draw, pay attention to things that you enjoy. About like if you're reading a comic, think about why that looks good to you, like what about it is appealing to you, and try to bring that out. And
think outside the box too, because when I had to do a Judge Dredd comic for school based on a script, and these are set in these post-apocalyptic mega cities, right?
yeah,
And I just like, oh man, after all these populated cities, so I just went into Saints Row and started taking screen caps and tracing those shots.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
definitely something you can do. Yeah.
yeah, you could. I mean, that's like a free perspective. You could just like, yeah, you can move the camera around and everything. I was doing that with for my book. I was like bringing up. I was like playing Skyrim, and I turn it on, and I go into like, so I was like, I need to draw this tavern or whatever, and I needed references and stuff for like medieval stuff, and some angles I couldn't get it the way I wanted to and stuff. So I would turn on like Skyrim and just look at the way they had the tavern or whatever, and that, and get some ideas from that. Yeah, um, yeah, like references and stuff like that. I think is a huge thing. Like definitely, just like don't be afraid to pull up something and rather than try to fake it.
Steal from the world; it's there for you to take.
Yeah,
I the only things I really use reference for are things that I've never drawn before, but like, try and push your boundaries too with art. Just think of a story, think about something that like, you don't typically work with, and then, build a narrative around those like objects or like, ideas. Or just study in general. Just do studies consistently. Look at things
yeah.
that
That's another thing is try to push yourself. If you're working by yourself, I still try to. I think it's still important to try to push yourself out of your comfort zone. Like,
yeah.
if you want to, if that's what if you want to progress and stuff like that, like, um, like try to draw things that maybe you wouldn't feel like you could do it before, but because it is satisfying when you do it, when you pull something off and it works
My
out.
God,
With it.
I have a fun one to talk. I talked about it on Twitter, so it's not a secret. Because like the last issue of my comic was two just muscular dudes beating the shit out of each other, and I really wanted to get better at drawing arms and muscles. I was looking at muscle fetish artists for how they draw arms.
I can see that now. Oh,
Yeah, go back to issue 3 when it was Century. It's just like they know what they're doing.
Well,
These are
yeah, I
people
mean,
that
yeah,
that
that's
have
like that's yeah, they must have an appreciation for that more than you could ever even think of. So yeah,
I also have a Rao noodle stopper from Fist of the North Star, where he's just clenched over, sitting with a fist like against his chin, and the arms on that sculpt are fucking wonderful. And I would just have that in my hand as I was drawing. It's like, all right, and shout out to a muscle fetish artist for helping me out with my third issue.
yeah. And this is gonna be the last question. I think this is a good one to just like trail off and then like, close the show.
Shout out to my girlfriend.
Topo owl emoji 18 plus at topolisu on twitter.com asks, why is New Jersey the way it is?
uh, like in the comic or in the
Or no, just why? Why is New Jersey the way it is?
oh man, it was like that when I got here. I don't know. uh, yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know, but we created we're responsible for the Misfits. We're responsible for Symphony X. Danny DeVito. I think it's a good weirdness. I
Joe
would say.
Pesci, Bon Jovi.
Yeah, some good stuff. I think it's a necessary evil, New Jersey. So
We answered this question technically a little earlier when
Yeah.
we were talking about social media. When you smush too many people into the same room or platform, people start getting a little antsy and stir crazy. New Jersey has a population that rivals states 5 times its size.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
that explains it. Yeah, so
I,
that's why we have a
I
lot of
looked, I looked up
maniacs
the
here.
population of New Jersey versus some European countries. We have a bigger population than Norway. We have a bigger population than Iceland. We have a bigger population than Finland, and we have just about the same population as Sweden.
Oh my gosh, I had no clue. Yeah, so that explains it.
Yeah.
So the
It's
answer, the sincere answer, I believe, is it is just a constant state of stir crazy because we are just way too close to each other. New Jersey does not have the size to fit this many fucking people.
and yet everyone lives there anyways. But yeah. Thank you so much, Jeff and Eric, for coming on the show tonight. It has been a really wonderful time talking about comics, talking about music and Jersey in general. And
Yeah, thanks for having me. I had a great time.
yeah.
Let
And
me let me just get on my soapbox real quick, if I may.
yeah, go ahead.
Uh, I don't think there is a more important category of media and creation than independent work, independent comics. And I really, really encourage everybody who is the people that will say with a serious face, "Oh, there's not enough of this in media. There's not of that in media. Diversity, sexual representation, any of that. It is out there. It is out there in the form of independent creators creating it from the heart, telling sincere stories. Stop expecting it from major companies. Stop expecting it from these studios because they're out there and from more sincere places."
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's frustrating when you see people say, why aren't people making stuff like this? And you're like, hello, I'm right here.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's out there. It is out
Yeah,
there in its rawest form, not watered down by any corporate interest or meddling. Sorry that it's not easy to pull up on Comixology. You just have to go to the person who's making what you're interested in and tell them, "Hey, I'm interested in purchasing your story or checking it out."
yeah,
And I
totally.
think SPX has been absolutely excellent for that because you will find comics at SPX from all types of genres, from all types of people, and from around the world. Because SPX, though it's a independent comic scene, a lot of people travel to the states to table at SPX as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that's the most exciting part about the indie stuff is you can just find comics about anything, and
And you can
yeah,
make comics about anything too. If you don't see it out in
and
the
make yeah,
world, you can make it yourself.
Make the content you want to see, and stop
And
pretending it doesn't exist.
yeah.
yeah,
And you will find people that enjoy it too. If you enjoy it, somebody else will. No one's alone in the world.
mm.
But yeah, thank you, Eric Lide, everybody, and Jeff Nest. You can find Eric at Eric Lide on twitter.com. ERICLIDE. He makes Ozzy the Vampire on Hiveworks. I've been showing it on the screen for anyone on YouTube watching. Just go through the video and you'll be seeing a bunch of pages from Ozzy the Vampire. If that's something you like, definitely give that comic a check. Excuse me. And for Jeff, I was also showing Dragon Fister on the screen too. So everybody checking out Jeff. You can find Jeff at HP Nutsack on Twitter. It's spelled just as that, no spaces, HPNUTSACK. And you can find him on Newgrounds at JeffNestCom. JEFFNESTCOM, no space, on Newgrounds. And you can check out Dragon Fister there. And this has been a wonderful show. Thank you guys for coming on. And I'm going to sign off now. Adios, amigos.
Thanks
Bye.
for having us.
Yeah, thank you for coming on.